And welcome to episode number 19, hard to believe, of the Final Whistle. I am Kyle. He is Mark, off a very bad sports weekend all around in the state of Ohio. And Mark, I won't even ask how you're doing. We're just going to jump right into it. Ohio State loses to Indiana 13-10. My guy, the floor is yours.
Yeah, it's a rough one. It's a depressing one. There's a lot that goes into it. I will start with now that we're kind of a couple of days out from it. I am going to say Indiana came in with a not only a great game plan, but just a great overall weekend. I say props to them. They showed up. They showed out. 13-10 game. They were already a bit tested as we already knew, and Fernando Mendoza from literally play one when he got his shit smoked by Caden Curry. I didn't even know that he would come back into the game, let alone play the way he did. He never flinched when the best defense in America was right in front of him. He played what I thought was a pretty good game, all things considered. Signetti called and had his guys ready to go. And Ryan Day, Brian Hartline, um, and just the staff in general, quite honestly, um, did what they do best in big games. They shit down their leg, and they had yet another coaching blunder. They seem to do this at least once a year when it comes to big games. This year it was just a week later than normal. In past years, it's been the Michigan game where they basically coached to not win. Kyle, like they're not aggressive. They kind of pucker up when there's big decisions to get made during the game, and they coach just not to lose, as opposed to coaching to win. You had Ryan Day go for it on one fourth down, and then the next fourth down he brings in. Um, I don't even want to say his name because it still makes me that fucking mad. I mean, can we talk about the fact that we have a kid from Ball State who's on our bench right now, transfers in, he was kicking like 55-yard bombs in the MAC last year. And yet we still go to this kicker who now Ryan Day and kickers don't really mesh well. If you go back some years in big games, a kicker's ruined our Georgia game in the college
Mm-hmm.
football playoff, which
Yep.
arguably, if you go back to that, Kyle, we've even talked, we potentially win the Natty that year, with Stroud and Marvin Harrison and those fellas, as long as that kid just makes a field goal that year. Um, then you go and this kicker this past game has he lost us the Michigan game last year against the cancer patient quarterback and just lack of Michigan players as it is. He misses two field goals last year. Then you have a 27-yard kick this week. Um, I have a 4-year-old stepdaughter that could have made that kick. I coached a 10-year-old fifth grade only team, which I watched kids at practice literally make longer than that. And this kid, then a video fucking comes out, Kyle. This kid's practicing fucking weirdo party trick
Trick shots.
kicks
Yeah, I saw that. I
from
saw
the
that.
fucking sideline before the game instead of practicing kicks. And what does he do? He misses the game time fucking kick. What does he say last week? Oh, I hope the Michigan game comes back to a kick where it's all on me. Well, guess what? We had a fucking championship game that we could have won. We would have been the number one seed, which we'll talk about later. I guess I'm not. I mean, there's not really an easy road as it is, but when it comes down to it, the number one seed ultimately is like the road of death for the college football playoff. But regardless of the fact, we haven't even been to the Big Ten championship since 2020, and then we come in. This kid is talking all this good shit about. Oh, I hope it comes down to me. I'm gonna make it up to us. And this dude goes wide fucking left on a gimme chip shot. What are we doing? I mean, it, like the kid's kicking with two left feet. He should have never suited up for Ohio State this year, let alone after Michigan last year. And we have a kid that was an awesome kicker at Ball State, that transferred in. So that's a waste of a transfer right there. But I mean, then again, in that's 4th and 1. We went for a 4th and 2 the drive before, and came away off a quarterback sneak, which were quarterback sneaking with a fucking Cali frat boy, um, who seemingly slips and falls every time we quarterback sneak. He just slips and falls over nothing. The turf monster gets him every time. So I mean, I'm not really understanding why we're even kicking a field goal there. You're the Ohio State Buckeyes, but um, very ironic that we lose back to back years. The one loss that we have is a 13-10 loss off of a missed field goal. Um, I know, Kyle. I'm sure you'll talk here in a minute. I know we talked for a while after the game as we did watch the big game together. Um, I know that everyone's going to say Ohio State's going to be fine. Everyone's like coping with the fact that this loss this year is the same exact score in the same exact way last year, and maybe this will also be good for us. Which I don't deny that a loss could be a good thing, but at this point, I demand perfection. You have a team this year that's better than your national championship team. You should have won this game. I demand perfection. I demand 1 year where you win against Michigan, which you already did. You win the Big Ten championship, then you win the Natty. What did Urban do? Won Big Ten championships. He beat Michigan and he won a Natty. No excuse at all. He's Ryan Day has not held the Big Ten championship since Justin Fields left, and we all remember how that debacle went. We were lucky to get Fields as it was, and that feels like ages ago. That was 5 years ago now. We haven't even sniffed the Big Ten championship game, let alone hoisted that trophy. And then when push came to shove, you got beat up by a team that only had 7 blue chip recruits, and you got outcoached by. And quite honestly, I will give Curt Cignetti his props. He talked his shit. He called his shot 2 years ago now, said that all these big time teams sucked, and he came back and he led his team to I believe they had two total losses last year and
Mm-hmm.
0 losses this year. So back to back years, he went from rags to riches pretty fucking fast, and he got those boys ready to go. So I will say, as an Ohio State diehard, shout out to Cignetti and those Indiana boys. They came to play. But Ryan Day, you want to talk all this big shit about, oh, we're the Ohio State Buckeyes, this and that. Stop fucking losing big games, you shitty fucking bum. And I'll just say his last name, Fielding. Why don't you look at your phone, look at my DM that I sent you, and let's have a fucking conversation? Because, buddy, you kick like a paraplegic. You honestly do. You kick like a paraplegic. And
Jesus.
you should have never suited up. You're a fucking disgrace to Ohio. And I
Oh
really
boy.
hope that you got the shit beat out of you in the locker room at the end of that game last week.
You
Fucking
feel
bum.
better? You feel better?
Nope, I'll never feel better because you know what?
No.
The problem is we're gonna win the fucking natty. We're gonna end up being even better than we were last year. We might win even more dominantly than we did last year. And then everybody's gonna sweep this little bullshit game under the rug because they came out like they didn't fucking care. Well, I fucking care. You wanna know why? Because the one thing important order already fucking started saying it. I know I'm gonna hear it from you. I'm gonna hear it from our buddy fucking Sean. The one thing that we haven't done that Michigan did was do a fucking perfect season. They beat us, they won the Big Ten, then they won the Natty. Ohio State, you're not fucking judged on years with losses. You're judged with legitimate fucking perfection, especially when you have teams like this. And you can't, and he has blunders in big games. I'll never be happy with this. Will I be happy with the Natty? Yes. Will I be happy with the fact that I can never say that we did it perfectly? No, because guess what? Michigan gets to say it, and that pisses me off.
Well, I will say in Indiana side, they deserved it. They earned it, and the blueprint's
A
there.
hundred
Michigan had the
percent.
blueprint. The blueprint for Michigan had it last year. You have the big defensive interior linemen. You only send four. You get forward pressure. You bring blitzes from time to time, and then you stack the box, and then you put everybody else back and try to have the quarterback beat you either running the ball or you got to find loopholes in the defense to get Smith and Carnell Tate open, which they did from honestly did from time to time. But at the same time, it was a common copy of the Michigan game, Mark. When you not even the score, but just look, we saw the right side of the line for Ohio State is not really good. It got dominated like
Oh,
half
that
the
right
game.
guard is dog shit. He's horrible.
Half the game. It got dominated half the game, and they even said it earlier in the season. The right guard, they were still not like tryouts, but like they were still holding tryouts during the game to see who's gonna be the better fit. Well, the tryouts failed. Now you're gonna go into either Texas A&M or Miami, which probably have even better DL than Indiana, so that's going to be a problem. So, and these Ohio State people that say, "Oh, not including you, Mark," because I know you always say it, but the other people I talk to, like, "Oh, Ohio State's still going to win." Okay, you talk, but you have a coach that just shit down his leg again for the second straight year in a row. Now you better hope that he doesn't do it in the Con Bowl, the Peach Bowl, or is it Fiesta Bowl, and the Natty, because I'll tell you what, Texas A&M, if they make it, they're no slouch. They got a mobile quarterback. Their DL's better. Their secondary is kind of iffy, but if you get that rush, Ohio State might be done for. I'm sorry, but I just until that if you're a Ohio State fan, how you can not be concerned that your offensive line did not hold up that game, but only four guys rushing, they did not hold up, like the Michigan game, like the game today, and they folded under pressure. They had a chance to win. Ryan Day, what did he do? He went for it, and the QB sneak. Okay. Let's just put the QB sneak to bed because obviously this guy's not fit to do the QB sneak. He cost him a touchdown against Michigan. He cost him a touchdown, a first down when his knee he fell short because he supposedly slipped. So get rid of the QB sneak. And Ryan Day, what happens now? Because now you got as Mark, we talked about this. You got a offensive coordinator who's in South Florida. I know they get a couple weeks off, whatever, because there's not really much to do until we get closer. But he's in South Florida right now. Is this a distraction? Maybe, I don't know. I mean, that's probably the worst I've seen Ohio State play. Now
And I
they
was going
haven't
to
really
touch
been.
on that after I let you go, but I think a decision has to be made there as well because now you have a guy that's play calling who still has a whole nother team to build, a whole staff to build. He has recruits to build out of the transfer portal as the transfer portal window is going to open as he's still technically with Ohio State. I I commend and I know we're going to talk about it a little bit, Kyle, but I love Brian Hartline. I love him. I
Mm-hmm.
loved him as a player, both in college and in the NFL. I loved him, and I love him even more as a coach. But as of right
Yep.
now, I'm just going to go off it as you're saying it because the emotions are fucking resurfacing. I think you got to make a decision on whether or not you're going to let him coach or not because it's clearly a distraction based off the fact that you're talking about winning the game. You're talking about make Smith and Tate beat you, right? Smith turned in a great game. He was his normal self. Tate had a bomb. We went away from the running game, which last week, what happened? We bullied the absolute shit out of Michigan with Bo Jackson. And Bo Jackson had some good runs in this Indiana game, even though they did bring pressure. Whether they brought four and disguised their blitz or they blitzed outright on the right side of that line, which again, Kyle, you already talked about, and you've been talking about for weeks, that right side is fucking weak as hell. And
Mm-hmm.
all Indiana did was they either pump faked pressure and made those linemen fucking scared and move wrong, or they brought their pressure all from the right side. But when the game's on the line, you ran with four tight ends. Kyle, I called it out during the game. You took Carnell Tate off the field, who
Yeah.
arguably is the second best wide receiver in the country behind the other best wide receiver in Jeremiah Smith. You took him off the field. You ran fucking four tight ends in Jeremiah Smith. You made Jeremiah Smith run an out route instead of an in breaking route, for one. Those kids are expecting a fade every time. Run a goddamn slant. That's
Yeah.
beyond the point. How do you go into a game winning situation or even a second half where last week you made the adjustment in a close game? You actually did what you were supposed to do and you ran the fucking ball. We had 20 yards rushing going into half. After halftime, Bo Jackson did start to get some steam. He broke off 5, 6, 7 yards a carry at some points in those later drives. Why not run behind him and try to run the clock down a little bit? And then when push comes to shove, you take the second best player on your team offensively completely out of the game and you run with four tight ends, and that's when you try to run the ball. You're trying to put it in the hands of them. I seen a tweet and I agreed with it completely. If you're down 13-10 on two separate drives, you had two separate drives to win the game. Jeremiah Smith or Carnell Tate need three targets each on those drives, and you have to go for it on fourth no matter what. Because that defense again showed, Kyle, that was the most points I believe we given up in a game, and it was still only 13 points, and they turned Indiana away time and time and time again. We'll talk about the defense here in a little bit, but when it comes down to it, how do you not have your two best players on the field at the same time when instead of fucking Will Kazmarek, loser ass Claire, and some rando tight end that doesn't even play, fucking Jelani Thurman, who's clearly in there specifically to block and has actually had drops in big games before, or bobbles where everybody's heart fucking stops because you don't know if his big ass is going to haul it in or not. But yeah, let's remove Carnell Tate, who's having his best year in college so far, who's been a fucking godsend, almost has 1,000 yards this year if it wasn't for injury. Let's remove him completely off the field and then go for it that way. Coaching blunder after coaching blunder, and I think it's time that in these 3 weeks or 3.5 weeks up until the Cotton Bowl, you need to decide whether or not Hartline gets to stay, if he's going to be fully committed or not. And I hate to give him an ultimatum because he deserves that head coaching job, but I think you have to give him an ultimatum. You're either all in here for this playoff run, or we've got to move to the next guy because it's too much of a distraction. He's not all in. Otherwise, earlier in the year, Michigan game even. A week ago, he did not know that he was going to be a head coach at USF. He did not know that, and he made the proper adjustments. A week later, he's a head coach and he's running two programs at the same time, and he doesn't make correct adjustments for the offense.
I will say, we gotta give still credit to Indiana. Mark is they made the plays. They made the plays to
They
win.
looked great, man.
Especially they had balls to go for it in fourth and was it fourth or no 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, and they had that one when Austin had one timeout
Yep.
with like 2 minutes to go in fourth. And so then he said, "Screw it, we're gonna go for the win here." They played not to win, and they caught it. And I don't know how he caught it. It's a great catch, almost like a tight end type of receiver right there. So hey, hats off to them. But I will
I
say,
believe you're talking about Becker, correct?
yeah, 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 him. And then the offense. I mean, Ohio State's defense. I mean, they kept them in the game, but there's loopholes. I mean, you got to get rid of. I mean, Matthews got burned. Igbinosa, he's still causing penalties off the pass interferences and all that. So he's a handsy cornerback. So it's just Ohio State's got a lot to figure out.
Fucking
I mean,
Lorenzo
I think
Styles, Kyle. Don't you let Lorenzo Styles off the hook.
Lorenzo Styles, he got burnt. And it was funny. Indiana took one shot almost every
He
quarter.
was the
I
first one
mean,
to get burnt.
two out of
He
three.
got beat on the same seam route 4 times.
2 out of 3, or yeah, like was it 3 out of 4? 2 out of 3 times the receiver did not catch it. That one time that ended pretty much cost Ohio State a touchdown was when he got burnt. He still stayed in the game. So obviously, well, I don't know what Dave's doing down there. If he must, I don't know what Styles, he must trust him, but against either A&M with receivers or Georgia, those big lengthy guys from Georgia, even though they might not run fast, they're just gonna moss the hell out of them, and they're just gonna catch it, and it's gonna be, I don't know, I think Ohio State probably going to run. I could see it, but at the same time, this is a gauntlet for them with Georgia and Texas A&M, SEC, and maybe Indiana again. They're gonna have to earn this one, Mark. And I'm telling you right now, if they struggle with A&M, there's no way they win it off. They struggle and have to come back from behind against A&M because A&M, like I said, their defensive line's good. Their secondary's iffy. We'll obviously talk deep dive into that as if that's the game that happens. But there's still, I don't know. Ohio State's got, I think, more questions than answers, Mark, as we talked about on Saturday.
Yeah, the more and more I've thought about it, I definitely agree. And I think the worst possible scenario, the worst case scenario for them is the fact that Miami is the one that got in. I know we can't wait to dive into that and talk about that. But whether it's Miami or it's A&M, you look at both of those offenses, they're high flying, explosive offenses that can throw the ball around the yard. What did Matt Patricia do all day against a bunch of 0-star white boy wide receivers? He let Caleb Downs do what Caleb Downs does. The defense still played a great game, but the problem is that we gave a bunch of big plays. Where do where the big plays come from, Kyle? They didn't necessarily come from the run game outside of maybe, I believe they had two big runs. Um,
Yep.
the big plays came from the pass game. They came from go balls either down up the seam or down the numbers against Jeremiah Matthews, who had, let's just be honest, he had a really bad game. He's a very good corner, typically plays nickel corner, which is something to think about because what happened was, if you noticed, they attacked Matthews and they attacked Styles. Styles got beat multiple times being flat-footed at safety and the guy ran right up the seam on him. He had to run back. I believe he gave up two big seams and then a big pass interference that would have got us out of the way on third down. Um, after his big play in the first quarter to get that, or second quarter, I believe, to get that interception or whatever it was, which was a smart and heads up play that Matt Patricia probably coached him on. But as far as Matthews goes, I mean he had a very, very bad game. He let that white boy that I've never heard of a day in my life just burn him off the release two times in a row on the same route. Um, which, I mean, what I understand, Ohio State's always been a big man to man team. Beat us man to man and beat our five stars man up. But at some point in time, you have to run at some point in time, Patricia has to adjust where our safeties have got to run a cover two shell and keep everything in front of us. Because multiple times in that second half, the adjustment was go deep, either beat them because they're handsy or just beat them deep by burning them because they're not going to want to keep getting these PI calls. Matthews got called by a DPI, and Styles got called by a DPI early on. After those two happened, it was fucking go balls ahead anytime they were third and five or more. And it was, I mean, it turned into a problem. Igbenosin had honestly a good game. I think he's played his way into a potential first, second round pick. Um, and he's still handsy as it is, but they didn't even really attack him. They attacked everybody else. And that was where the problem started to lie because everybody else had to, I mean, they called him flat footed. I think they expected that. I think they heard the hype of, oh, these are 0-star kids that shouldn't be where they are now, et cetera, et cetera. And they sat there and they played like hungry fucking dogs. They beat them on every release. And I mean, again, we do have a gauntlet. And now you got to think if you were already smelling your own shit after beating, let's be honest, Kyle, a lackluster Michigan team where their best wide receiver coming in this year was either a freshman option or a quarterback from Indiana, nonetheless, that turned into a
Yep.
wide receiver 2 years ago. Now you're playing
Yep.
big time A&M kids, or you're playing big time Miami wide receiver recruits, and you have a
That are
quarterback
making
in Reed if you play A&M who has who who was in the Heisman finalist running for a long, long time, or you have a kid that's done it before, won championships, been in these games in Carson Beck, who, all things considered, he turns into a pumpkin almost every time they play in a big game, but he's also hoisted that trophy. He also has high flying weapons that are honestly probably similar to what we have at Ohio State on both sides of the ball. Now neither one of their defenses are good, but then it comes to can you win a shootout? Because you also have seen now twice in big games, Sand has made bad reads, thrown an early interception, and then put the pressure on the defense to save us. Well, the defense isn't going to be similar to our Cleveland Browns, Kyle. The defense can't always save you and bail you out. You're going to have to score points, and he puckered up and he shit down his little California leg this week, and now he's going to have to do it again. And you can't keep throwing these early picks. You got honestly, he alone missed two different touchdowns. If he doesn't underthrow that ball to Jeremiah Smith on the deep route, Jeremiah Smith scores with ease. Underthrown ball, Jeremiah Smith gets tackled at the 20. He completely missed a wide open Brandon Ennis because he was scared about throwing another pick and stopped reading the defense completely. That changes the game almost automatically because that's about a 60-yard bomb that he normally hits. Ennis had nobody. They've pinned Ennis on the replay. Ennis had nobody. So Sayan's gonna have to wake up. You're no longer a redshirt freshman, true sophomore, whatever you want to call it anymore. You've played a full season now. So you should know what you're doing. And it's put up or shut up time for him too. Because as good as he is this year, if you're going to start throwing early picks in these big games, what does that tell me about you as a player moving forward? Can we trust you? Because
Right.
you played a very young defense in Michigan, and you came back there, but now you're going to be tested. Talk to Will Howard. Ask him what that gauntlet was like. You even have a worse, you had best case scenario last year. Now you have 3.5 weeks off. You're going to play two teams that are extremely hungry, and then you got to play Georgia right after that if you win 9 times out of 10, because Georgia has that three slot. Who they don't play the easiest road, but let's be honest, Georgia's been playing great football. You're going to see Georgia, so you're probably playing back to back SEC teams, um,
Yeah.
who at one point in time were the favorites to win it all. So it's definitely no slouch of a competition here, and quite honestly, this is probably the best, or most interesting field, as Indiana and Alabama basically automatically play each other um next round, after that initial round, and it'll be very interesting to see. But Ohio State's definitely got their work cut out for them, and while I do hope they go on a run, I'm really not expecting it based off of the field that's in front of us. This is the most loaded field we've seen so far.
I wouldn't say loaded, but I agree with you. I don't know. Well, obviously, we're to deep dive into the first round games next week as we get closer, since we kind of have the
I
weekend.
say
But
top end. Top end is
top,
extremely loaded.
yeah, top end for sure. Yeah, the overall, I don't know. We don't know. We'll dive into that as we go on. So, Indiana defeats Ohio State 13-10, and so we're gonna tie in the bracket, the rankings as we go with these games. So we'll just do it here. Oh, Indiana's number one, OSU number two. We talked a lot about that. We talked a lot about both routes for or both was it paths for both Indiana and Ohio State. Though Ohio State playing the Cotton Bowl, Indiana's going to the Rose Bowl. They will wait the winner of Alabama, Oklahoma, which we'll dive into next week on the show. Mark, are you okay with the 1 and 2? I'll ask you that as we go along with these rankings. Are you okay with 1 and 2 for both teams?
Uh, I mean, I quite honestly, I did not expect Ohio State to be two. I expected us to be three. I think, and obviously we'll have a bit bigger of a dive into the rankings, into the playoff stack, et cetera, as those games come up after this weekend. But I think what you saw from the committee here, I'll kind of just touch on it, as Ohio State did end up being two, and Georgia, who won the SEC, ended up being three. I think they put a bigger emphasis on not really penalizing teams for being in that conference championship game. And I also think you also saw it as Ohio State, like, we didn't get blown out. We potentially could have, um, and should have won the game, and they got kind of still rewarded for that. Although there's not really a reward, unless you get to really that number 5 seed, in my personal opinion. But nevertheless, I don't. I say 1 through 4 was, or I'll call it 1 through 3. 1 through 3 was kind of a crapshoot on where the teams would end up outside of Indiana, based off of the fact that you kind of got to weigh Georgia's one loss in the regular season compared to Ohio State's one loss in the Big Ten championship. I don't mind it either way. Either way is still a tough path. I expected actually Ohio State to be around that 4 slot, based off the fact that Texas Tech looked dominant this last weekend yet again, and they've been playing really good ball all year long, and they have a conference championship under their belt. However, if you look at it, I guess it does kind of make sense, because Ohio State came in undefeated. They lost by 1 score. They could have potentially been in an overtime game or won it in regulation. Had some things gone differently. So I don't mind the 1-2, and then Georgia being 3 with Texas Tech at 4. I think it could have went either way, and you kind of seen how the committee viewed everything, with the conference championships, and going into those games, not really penalizing teams for being in there. If you won, you got a little bump. If you lost and you were in a certain area, you didn't get hit too hard.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised it'd be two. Like Mark said, I thought it'd be like maybe two or three or four, depending on because of the other games that happened where they were all completely blowouts. This was only probably the closer game of the entire championship
Oh,
weekend. I
that was the
think
best
you
game of the weekend outside
well,
of
yeah,
Virginia Duke.
yeah, behind Virginia Duke, which really wasn't really much to play for unless you were Virginia. So, but I just think they got it. It was as what the committee calls it, as we see it as a good loss. Ohio State lost to Indiana, the number one team in the country, so it wasn't going to get penalized as much. And they don't because then you're I know the committee doesn't care about rematches because we see a rematch in the first round from earlier, or two rematches in the first round from earlier in the season. But there's a good loss for them. They avoid them until the Natty if both those teams get there. So we'll see how it goes because I mean Indiana's got a tough road. They got SEC
Yep.
right off the bat, and then probably I would think Texas Tech or Oregon, depending on who wins that, and then whoever comes out of the bottom half of the bracket. So I think it's okay where you put them. They because Ohio they're telling us Ohio State took care of business against teams they should have the entire season, and that Texas loss is becoming or win is becoming actually became nicer for them because Texas is in the top 20, so that helps. Michigan in the top 20. Indiana's obviously number one, so the resume kind of stacks up this year, and they took care of business where they had to Ohio State, and so did Indiana. So we'll see. And I want to next year could be the telltale for Indiana because I read that Indiana's the 37th recruiting ranks this year. So that doesn't tell you something that we'll see how next year and the year after that goes. Be very interesting to see what Indiana does next year. All right, we're gonna move on to Georgia versus Bama, as this was kind of a blowout, as pure domination by Georgia, as Alabama just looked kind of just lost the entire game, and had no answers. And I don't get why Bama did not suffer a drop and they stayed where they at, Mark. But Georgia, as we talked about, Georgia's that sneaky team that no one's really talking about, and they're really getting in. They're just handling business without nobody really caring and nobody really calling them out for what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, they've been very quiet pretty much ever since they lost to Bama early on in the season. We were talking about it Saturday, Kyle, as we did watch that game together as well, with a buddy of ours and his wife and my fiance. I mean, when you kind of look at it, they don't have anybody on Georgia's team that's really jumping off the page that everybody's like clamoring about. Like they don't have like a Jeremiah Smith, a Ryan Williams, anything like that. But they're just sitting there, and Gunnar Stockton's playing good football. He threw some balls on a damn rope on Saturday. But I mean, they're quietly just they kind of rebounded from the Alabama loss, and they just fix some things and play good football. While nobody's kind of talking about them, everybody's talking about how Bama and Ty Simpson is playing good football, and maybe DeBoer leaves after this year, et cetera, et cetera. All the pressure was seemingly on Bama, and Georgia just kind of came in, and it's almost like how Kirby originally started his SEC run of dominance. Yet he never really went away. They just quietly walked in and just beat the shit out of Bama. Bama didn't even score or get past the 50-yard line until the fourth quarter. I mean, it was a complete domination, dog walking, and I mean, they handle business. Now they're number three. I actually kind of feel bad for them because as much as they haven't been talked about, they have just an equal as gauntlet of a path as Ohio State does, in my personal opinion. Being that they do or will have to play an Ohio State team that has been good at least offensively all year long, and Georgia has struggled on defense as of recent, but at the same time, um, I mean Georgia just I mean they just did what they needed to do, man. They they figured it out. I mean Georgia will potentially be playing I believe it is they ended up with the number fucking 3 seed, so I mean who knows, man? It's very interesting where they ended up. I'm surprised that they didn't get that 2 slot. Being that the SEC was um like dick sucked by the committee so much again this year. But I mean, we'll see. Georgia's a sneaky team, and it's weird to say based on the fact that they're what do they end up 11-1, I believe.
Well,
Very sneaky team, and they're still not a slouch, man. They're that defensive line is their fucking problem, and Gunnar Stockton just slowly but surely plays his way down the field, takes what the offense gives him, or what the defense, excuse me, gives him, and he makes plays. He impressed me this past weekend.
Yeah, and with everything going on with, I just and it's what the path Georgia has is you could now kind of game plan. For, I mean Tulane. I mean we don't know when sees Tulane pulling this upset because Ole Miss just played Tulane earlier in the season and beat them by like 4 touchdowns or something. So I mean it's Georgia. You're a little easier.
Yep.
Okay, we pretty much playing for Ole Miss at this point. You don't really. So that's a little easier path because you literally know the next two opponents if it goes that way, or at least okay, Ohio State, A&M or Miami. So you have three opponents or three opponents or four opponents, I should say, pretty much that you can kind of start game planning for because you shouldn't have to worry about Tulane. But yeah, Georgia looked up. Georgia looks good. Georgia looks like a team that can really go through it all. They're going to give Ohio State problems if it is Ohio State because I think they're just tough. They're going to be tough to beat up front. You got to beat them up front because that's what they rely on the line of scrimmage. And they somehow, I don't know how they always get these big, lengthy white boy receivers. I don't understand how they do, but they do. So yeah, that's how it goes when it goes to the
Yeah, I mean, be very interesting.
yeah, be definitely.
As I mean, yeah, and as Kyle kind of goes out there again. Georgia beat Bama and beat them down pretty easily. They will play the winner of Ole Miss and Tulane next week, or in the second round, as Tulane won their conference on, I believe it was Thursday or Friday. I believe it was Friday. Um, they won their conference championship game, and now they're set to face off for the chance to play Georgia. Kyle has re-entered. Kyle, floors back to you. As we kind of wrap up, as Georgia kind of just awaits Ole Miss and Tulane as Ole Miss gets their first game without Lane Kiffin in the playoff, and they draw Tulane, and we go from there.
Yeah, and Bama, they look bad, and I don't get how they didn't drop when they look that bad. And if they committee want to keep it in the field, you should at least penalize them for getting blown out. You literally got blown out by the team you literally beat a couple of weeks ago. I don't understand. As Mark said, it's the SEC thing. You want SEC in there, but yeah, and what happens if this Bama team goes and gets blown up by Oklahoma next week? And then they're like, "Oh, maybe we made the mistake of keeping them that high. Maybe they could have played." I don't get it. It just shows the championship means nothing with the SEC because you just literally got blown out. Now I want to know this. Let's just say, for instance, Indiana got blown out to Ohio State or vice versa. Where how far would they would have dropped? Compared, like if it was a situation like Georgia Bama. So it's very very frustrating that the way this I think the ranking came out for this mark as Bama should. I don't think they should be 9. I really don't. I think if they're staying in, they should have been one of the last two teams in, and got jumped by at least Miami or A&M. But or well, A&M is higher than them, but they should at least got jumped by maybe a Tulane, maybe a JMU. But I think the 12th seed automatically goes to a lower conference winner. But maybe they could have got jumped by Tulane or something because now you're literally rewarding a poor performance, bad play. You're literally that's what you're rewarding, bad play, and it's really really frustrating to see this that SEC gets this special treatment week or year in and year out. So
I mean, yeah, I definitely agree with that, especially when it comes to the fact that I mean they're historically now they're the first team ever to make a playoff with 3 losses. Granted, I do slightly understand it as they don't want to make those conference championship games completely worthless and make it so that teams completely drop out because if you lose in a conference championship game and then they keep Alabama out even though they did get the doors blown off of them, then teams are going to start saying similar to what we're already seeing now with Notre Dame, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. That then we're not going to play in the conference championship game because if we lose, then that's only a detriment to us, even though we earned the right to play in an additional game because we were that good this year, or we won the games we were supposed to win, et cetera, et cetera. So there is kind of arguments on both sides. I do agree that Bama, I do think they ultimately do deserve to be in, based off of the current way that I think things should be done. I do think they should have been in. I don't believe they should have been nine. I believe they should have been sitting behind both conference champs.
Yeah, I agree.
As when you look at the resumes of them, while they don't have the wins necessarily of those group of five schools, they have a trophy that they hoisted and two less losses. So I do believe they should have been a 12 seed, but nonetheless, I mean, Alabama did get the doors blown off of them, and as far as the field of teams, maybe not necessarily the ranking, but the teams that are in, I do think the committee got it right.
Yeah, I think they got it right. There's a lot of controversy surrounding that. We're going to talk this week and next week leading up to the first round, and probably we'll talk a little bit more as the games go on to see if they're really the right pick. But so Georgia's number three, they get the bye. They wait to win over Ole Miss, Tulane, and then Alabama's heading to Oklahoma in a rematch where Bama or Oklahoma went into Bama and beat Bama just a couple of weeks ago. So we'll obviously, as we said, dive into that game more next week. So we're going to move on here to a team nobody's really talked about, Mark, as we kind of alluded to. Texas Tech defeated BYU 34-7 in another rout of BYU, the second straight rout. How is that possible? That is very, very interesting. But hey, Texas Tech, they did what they needed to do. They kept to keep the bye, and they kind of routed BYU. And I just think it's surprising Texas Tech has BYU's number. The amount of BYU scored against Texas Tech in the two games was, I would say, very interesting and fascinating. The way both these games turned out between these two this season.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Texas Tech kind of just they walked in and showed BYU that they're just on another level. I think Texas Tech's defense is very underrated, especially for a Big 12 defense. I mean, they play very very well. They get after the quarterback. They make you turn the ball over, and then obviously Texas Tech is always. I mean, they always got a nasty nasty offense, and if you can't keep up with them scoring points, you're in for a long weekend. They showed that again this weekend, and I think Texas Tech, quite honestly, um, they have a real chance to maybe win this whole thing. I think I'm going to call them the sleeper of the entire bracket because nobody, again, kind of similar to Georgia, nobody's really talking about them. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, if you look at the way they play, if you look at their defense, I think if they keep playing football the way they've been, outside of their one loss, I mean, they've been dominant and they score points and they score them in a hurry. I think, and you're playing when you have that second round bye or that first round bye, you're not necessarily playing at home, but you're still playing in warm weather climates. What does A&M do? Or excuse me, Texas Tech too. They love to throw the ball around. They're an air raid school, and they're going to toss that ball all around the yard, get on the perimeter, and they're going to spread you out and force you to tackle one on one. So it'll be very, excuse me, it'll be very interesting to see as I like the way they're playing. Their defense played very very well, and they showed that they're the clear winner of the Big 12 with no questions to be asked. BYU had a chance to kind of right their wrong, and Texas Tech kind of just they already had their foot on their throats and they kind of just snapped it off really instantly against BYU and kind of showed them, especially when it comes to beating a team twice in 1 year. That's extremely extremely hard to do in college football, and they did it with these. Texas Tech is somebody to watch out for, and I know I'll be tuned into their first game in the second round because they can make some real noise in this playoff. I like the way they're playing right now.
Yeah, and like Georgia, they're pretty much going to get Oregon, so it's pretty much good to game plan around. I won't be surprised if they're not game playing for Oregon at this point. Oregon takes on James Madison, another game we'll deep dive into next week. But I just think as we talked about, Mark, Texas Tech, like you said, they have the good offense. They have a fantastic offense. They have a great coach. If their deep now we're going to see, is their defense the Big 10 or Big 12 defense, or is it a defense that could clamp down? They could contain Oregon and their air raid, because if they can contain Oregon and they go up against Indiana, they get two straight Big Ten teams in a row, and it's a good game plan. Oregon and Indiana are pretty much the same. The quarterback could run a little more for Oregon, but you contain him, force him to throw, and you could sit back, pin your ears, and get a couple stops. I think Texas Tech, like you said, could go on a run. I mean, if it becomes Indiana versus Texas Tech, that's gonna be a great game. I think it's gonna be Indiana's offense versus Texas Tech's defense, but obviously we have to get there first. But I like, and for BYU, they still had that young freshman who transferred, and I think the maybe even though the coach was kind of flirting with leaving for Penn State earlier in the week, I doubt that had anything to do with it. I think it was just Texas Tech was ready to go. I don't. Man, it'll be interesting to see can BYU now they get can BYU can sustain his momentum for next year and get maybe they'll be the Big 12 champion. But just to get blown out twice, that is just mind boggling to me. How does that? I mean, hey, I mean, you gotta give credit. I guess Texas Tech is the good team. You just kind of tip your hat to Texas Tech for BYU because at the same time you came in, you had everything there for BYU. You win, you got in, you probably knocked out Bama or at least Miami, but unfortunately you did not, and you suffered your second loss, and you're going to a bowl game, non CFP. But hey, hats off to Texas Tech, Mark. Like you said, they're going to be a team. I think they're a dark horse if it's not one of the top three that could get in, if or maybe even Oregon's a dark horse because that matchup on New Year's Day would be very fascinating. When leading up to see how Texas Tech can hold up against an Oregon offense.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There is some very interesting things to come out of that matchup completely, and at the end of the day, I think that I think that whoever wins that game does have a big chance. I expect it to be Oregon, but I'm never going to sleep on some of these Group of Five schools because they have nothing to lose, and a lot of times while they can kind of get caught up in just being quote unquote happy to be in the dance, I mean they're not slouches of teams either, and sometimes a lot of those schools can put up a lot of points in a hurry and put some pressure on you. A lot of times it's their defense that's lacking, so we'll see what happens there, but. I do think Texas Tech is the dark horse of the bracket, and I'm excited to see kind of when they do get to play, how they play, and how they move forward throughout the bracket once they kind of start playing some teams outside of the Big 12 because their out of conference schedule was pretty weak if I'm not mistaken, and that kind of makes it hard to judge. Now BYU obviously is a very good team. That freshman quarterback who wears number 47, I think he has a bright future, but I mean they definitely have some work to do, and I think they'll be okay, but they're gonna need to get over that Texas Tech hump.
Yeah, so it'll be very interesting as Texas Tech, as we continue with the rankings, is number 4. They got the final bye, as like Georgia kind of stayed put because or they did not get the leap over Ohio State, but hey, they deserve that bye, and we'll see. As last year, remember Arizona State was only like literally a play away from getting to beating Texas and getting to the semifinals. So we'll see can Texas Tech carry the flag for the Big 12 and
Yep.
get to the semifinal for the Big 12 for the first time in a couple years and make a run. So I think Texas Tech, Mark, number 4, good where they're at with the bye, and they'll get some time to heal up. So
Yeah, I definitely like where they're sitting at. I expected them to be actually 3, but four is good for them, and I think now they have time to game plan even better. I do shout out to their coach as well. He's kind of a guy that is I know he was on our favorite show, Pat McAfee, when game day was down there the first time they played BYU. I'm happy for that guy. He's kind of going through some things in the coaching realm, found his way to Texas Tech, and now I mean he's having a hell of a season. He's getting, I think, the recognition that maybe he deserved all along in the way he's been building that program down there. So before we move on, big shout outs to him.
yeah, big shout out to him as Texas Tech will get the 4 and rightfully so. All right, move on to the first pop. Well, the main power or group of 5 team that got in, that was the talk. Tulane defeats North Texas 34-21. Tulane's getting in. They got Ole Miss in a rematch of earlier this year, Mark. So here we go. They get Ole Miss, but it kind of blew North Texas out. North Texas has looked just I don't had no answer right from the start, and UNT and get this, UNT scored 40 points the entire season, and Tulane was only able to hold them to 21. That's a milestone in itself. But here's Tulane was the talk of being a Group of 5 representative the whole season. So here they are, they're in, and can they do what Boise couldn't do and win and pull an upset and win a game?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because you kind of heard Tulane's coach, I believe it was either 2 or 3 weeks ago, saying they didn't even deserve to be the Group of Five representative at one point. He didn't feel like his team was playing good ball, which was at the time I felt like a weird thing to say, but maybe it motivated the kids. But I mean, finally, you kind of have a Group of Five school that I mean finally wanted to just kind of take the reins of that being that representative, even if there was only going to be one. Obviously we know now there's two of them, but I mean they finally just buckled down and said, you know what, we're not going to fucking lose this game. North Texas was no slouch either. They've been playing a lot of really good football. Tulane kind of shut them down and showed their dominance. I like Tulane as a football team. And I know that we've actually seen Tulane quite a bit as Ohio State fans, as we did play them a couple of years, and you've seen Tulane's coordinators kind of move on to bigger schools. Tulane, I believe their OC moved over as a Michigan OC, so that just tells you how good of a program Tulane has been over the past few years, and now they're still they're putting it together in the Group of Five. They look good on what was it, Friday, I believe they played.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
if I'm not mistaken, whatever day they played. I know it was before Saturday. I
yeah.
believe it was Friday. They
Yeah.
looked good. They took control of the game, and now they get the opportunity to take on an Ole Miss team that's reeling. Quite honestly, they don't have a play caller and they don't have a head coach. So we'll see if that plays a factor. I'm rooting for Tulane in the fact that I'd love to see a Group of Five school come out and get a W, but at the same time, that is a particularly hard game for me as well because I want the Ole Miss kids to kind of show up and show out and show Lane Kiffin that he made a mistake in leaving, especially the way he ended up having to leave, and I want to see those kids succeed because they deserve it. They played their way in, so I'm rooting for unfortunately both teams there. I think Ole Miss is just gonna have too much firepower for them, but I mean, at the end of the day, Tulane kudos to them. Kudos to them for finally just taking the reins over the Group of Five situation, and they look good doing it. I'm excited to see what they have. I believe they get the home playoff game, so that'll be exciting for that school as well.
Yep.
Getting the home game, being conference champs, and bringing a basically bringing the world over to Tulane's campus, which doesn't happen very often for all eyes to see, and hopefully that helps them with recruiting as well.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see as actually Old Miss is hosting this one. So Old Miss is the sixth seed, so they get the first round game in Oxford. But yeah, Tulane they look good. I think if they were in another conference, I think they maybe jump Bama. I think this team should have jumped Bama just because they won conference. They pretty much did what they needed to do. Bama got smoked, but obviously here comes the SEC bias again. Always going to be Ohio State or not Ohio State. Always going to be Bama. Always going to be Georgia. As long as they get SEC in there, no problem. They're going to get SEC in there, no problem. So it's going to be very interesting to see because of what happened with this. I think Tulane, maybe it's different, but I don't know if I can
Yeah,
trust them. Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say Tulane. Yeah, Tulane could win, but I don't see it. Their coach is on their way out. Their coach is staying till the end, but I just Tulane or Ole Miss has too much to prove. And will it be nice to see at least one of these teams make it? Because if either James Madison or Tulane don't win, the lower conference will be 0-3 to start their tenure in the playoff. So it's be very interesting with this game. Maybe they keep it close for a minute, but I think Tulane. I don't know. I think they deserved it, but I think they deserved a higher ranking. But obviously, they're not Alabama or an SEC school, so why would they? So Tulane
yeah,
gets the
that I
win.
definitely do agree with.
So Tulane gets the win 34-21, and they are in the playoff and will face Georgia. If the winner of that will face Georgia, and we will deep dive more into Tulane on this next week. All right, let's talk one more as Duke defeats Virginia to knock the ACC champ out. Luckily, ACC still got a representative in there with Miami, but Duke Mark played spoiler to Virginia in overtime, 27-20, and Duke had really nothing to lose. They just came in there and took care of business, played, and played and just gave Virginia their loss. Virginia's out of the CFP, but hey, hats off to Duke. Nobody at these weird tiebreakers for the ACC. They somehow got in, and here they are. They're 8-5, and they are ACC champions with Manny Diaz at the helm.
As Kyle kind of cuts out here talking Virginia and Duke. Duke kind of pulled off what I would call is and they had the opportunity to do so, is one of the funniest honestly one of the funniest wins that there is, based off the fact that the ACC has had so much parity. There's so much like the talk of the town right now based off everything that's been going on, and yet here they are, five loss team. They win the conference in epic fashion. Honestly, it's a double overtime game for Duke and Virginia. Duke pulls it out, and then honestly, they end up being a talk on should they be allowed to be in the college football playoff and etc. as well. So Duke shuts the door on on Virginia getting their chance in. They win the conference champ as a five loss team in a Power Five school. I mean, it's very very funny to see. But then, I mean, they caused Duke itself caused quite a bit of parity when it comes down to it. They caused the parity with Miami still getting even more of a chance, as I think, personally speaking, had Virginia got in, they would be potentially not giving Miami that shot. But I mean, Duke came to play. They even said if Duke had a chance to get in, they said that they would be playing hard. That they would shock the world, and I think they definitely succeeded in doing that. Kyle, I was just kind of mentioning, and I know I mentioned it last week. Duke had the opportunity, and then and kind of capitalized on the opportunity of basically making the funniest thing happen in the world, and having a Power Five conference have a five loss champion, and cause basically this shitstorm of parity from the ACC. It was amazing to see, and honestly, that was the other great conference championship game of the weekend, as they win in double overtime over Virginia, who was quietly handling business. Then kind of gave it up and shot down their leg when rubber met the road.
Yeah, so it got yeah, and Virginia they had it all. Yeah, it was like a BYU. They win and they were in. So hey, hats off to Duke. Duke played, with nothing to lose, and with the weird ass tiebreakers though. Weird ass tiebreakers for the ACC to get in. How do you get in at an 8-5 team, and then all of a sudden you lose, and SMU sent out there. Who else? Miami didn't get in, and Miami was literally praying that Virginia lost because of what happened. And it would have thought, and who would have thought, ACC commissioner handing out that trophy to the Duke, be like, oh well, you may just knock the whole conference out. Like as a commissioner, you're happy that it's a new team, but at the same time, it's like it's very interesting. But Duke, hey, hats off to Duke. They played well. Virginia, on the other hand, they're hopefully they're here to stay. This coach kind of came in, last year and was rebuilding, and hey, they took off. And in Virginia, this is a conference that they can win for years to come. They got a lot. They got a weird conference. It's not really like the Big Ten or ACC where the teams year in and year out. I mean, here comes Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's going to be there at the end at the end as well, because they got a new James Franklin, who they just hired. Is very, very interesting. He's a really good coach. I like him. Can he win a big game? We're going to find out. I mean, it's kind of a less pressure school at Virginia Tech, so we'll see how that goes down the road. But at the same time, you got teams like an SMU who literally won the conference last year, and Clemson. Can they be on a resurge next year? So this conference is up for grabs year in, year out, Mark, because I was just telling our audience that you just never know the past couple of years who's going to win the ACC conference.
I mean, yeah, they always have a bunch of parity, and I know as the commissioner of the ACC probably handed that trophy in his head, he was probably devastated, kind of understanding that his only hope was Miami, which at the time was not a shoe in at all. It was still a shock at the end of the day. yesterday, as the rankings did come out on Sunday. The time of this recording is yesterday. Um, it the ACC is just a very weird thing, because nobody ever seems to really want to take a hold of it, and they beat up each other almost so like they're such a bad conference, but they beat up each other so bad that nobody ends up able to like get spots.
Right.
It's very weird. Um, Hats off to Duke, and I agree with your sentiment that I do hope Virginia is around to stay because I mean, they showed. I feel like they showed a lot of good things, not only in this championship game, but just kind of throughout the year as they went forward playing. They looked, I mean, they looked like an honest and true, serious contender, and I'm excited to see what they can do moving forward here. But I mean, at the end of the day, Duke wins as a 7-5 team, and caused a whole bigger shitstorm than I think anybody could have imagined when it came to um, everything else in that situation there.
Yeah, so it'll be very interesting to see. Virginia's still in the rankings. They dropped to number 19. They'll get into a bowl. Just will not be the CFP this year. All right. Well, with the CFP coming up next week, we're gonna kind of take a break from picking the games. To we'll dive into all the four first round games next year. Say that 5 times fast. Next week we'll dive in. We'll kind of get a big, better once we do some researching and get a better handle on these games. So next week, but nevertheless, we are going to pick some games real quick as it's kind of still an interesting weekend. Some good TV to see. Some lower teams have that kind of national attention. Mark, as you know, we like to see the national attention with these teams. So we're going to start with the LA Bowl. The bowl games start this week as well as it's Boise State versus Washington that will kick off the bowl season Saturday night right after the Heisman Trophy presentation. Mark, who are you taking in Boise, Washington, and why?
I think so. I do love Boise State as a program. They're for any of you kind of around Kyle and I's era. The Smurf turf, as we used to call it, was kind of a national treasure. Everybody wanted to play on the Smurf turf, especially when Kellen Moore and the boys were kind of running wild on the college football landscape and kind of changing the game. Made small schools fun. But I think this year, while Boise's had kind of another normal Boise State year, all things considered, I think Washington and I can't remember his last name, but Washington's quarterback, very good
Williams,
quarterback,
Desmond Williams.
very young. Yes, Desmond Williams, that's what it is. I liked the way he played. I know they had some bumps in the road throughout the year, but I think they're just going to be too strong for Boise, and I think they have enough to play for based off of the fact that this is a bowl game where you win this bowl game, you could take it in the next year and potentially start competing again for that top of the Big Ten. They were up there and they were competitive for the most part. I understand they lost a lot of the big games against the bigger schools, but you still want a trophy in that trophy case, all things considered.
Yep.
I don't believe that they have any guys sitting out as of right now, and this is kind of a way to stamp the end of your season, go into off season with spring ball, maybe get some transfers and things of that nature. I like Washington to win, although Boise State obviously deserves to play there, play with the big dogs. They've played well all year outside of a couple of blunders really early on, but I like Washington this one. I think they're just too powerful.
Yeah, I like watching this one. I just think Boise, they kind of struggled this year, and they won their conference championship in the Mountain West this past Friday. But I just think Washington is going to look to get on track because there's quarterbacks at least there at least one more or 2 more years at least 1 more year I think. So we'll see how that goes. I think
Yeah, I
Washington.
believe he's a redshirt freshman.
Yeah, so Washington wins this one. I think should be a good game. But you never know with these bowl games. As definitely when the teams are just trying to play some kids that don't really get in, they play some freshmen and all that. So I think it could be a decent game. I'm definitely want some I'll be turning into, but I think Washington wins. As it's called the Bucked Up LA Bowl of all things. What a weird name! As some of these names are kind of funny to see, get a little bucked up, but we'll see on that. All right, let's go to one more bowl during this time frame between this show and next. The IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl. Troy and Jacksonville State, Mark, two teams that are going to get some good kind of recognition next Tuesday. Who do you got?
I think I like Troy in this one. If you watched any college football this year, Troy really put it to Clemson there for a while and almost I believe they either almost beat them or beat them. Let me take a look real quick. But Jacksonville State, kind of a school that you would think it doesn't really have like you almost kind of I think they get overshadowed because you have Jackson State, which Dion made so famous in the HBCU space.
Yep.
Um, I mean, I really like how they play football. Again, another one of those smaller schools that plays spread air raid. They throw the ball all over the damn place, and they're fun to watch. But I think now Troy was in the Sun Belt Championship game. Obviously, they got destroyed by James Madison, but I mean, Troy pushed Clemson to the brink in the first three quarters. They beat MAC teams like Buffalo. They beat Texas State in overtime, which for a while Texas State was considered a Group of Five front runner as well. So I mean, Troy, not a bad team at all. Jackson State, or Jacksonville State, excuse me, had some interesting games. They only lost to UCF, who again was a Group of Five favorite for a little while there by 7 points. They beat teams like Sam Houston. They beat Kennesaw State at one point, even though they did lose in the Conference USA championship game to them. Which shout out to Kennesaw State. For those of you that play NCAA football, you know that Kennesaw State is one of those teams that isn't really rated very high. Maybe they'll get a better ranking as they are Conference USA championship uh, winners. But I like Troy in this one. They kind of played some better teams, and I think at the end of the day, they have a bit more firepower than what Jacksonville State does. But again, small teams getting big recognition. These guys get to turn around and try to right their wrongs after both lost their conference championship games this past weekend, and we get to excitedly see who kind of rights their wrong and ends their season on a high note going into next year.
Yeah, I think I'm going Jack State. I just think Jacksonville State they're playing some great ball right now. They almost had a chance to get into or they did get into the title game. I just think Jacksonville State is a little bit of a better team, and they lost to Kennesaw State. But I think Jack State, what they still have those recruits that kind of Rich Rodriguez had when he was there. They kind of stayed and played to get together, so they make that run. I like Jacksonville State in this one. When we talk about this time of year, we get some lower schools playing. How about some Division One FCS teams? We're kind of go through quick this, Mark, as one of the higher profit names in the league, or that no one really talked about, that you see kind of playing the bigger schools like week 1, week 2, week 3 of the seasons. South Dakota versus Montana, Mark. This is very interesting. Montana's always there, but I think I'm probably going to go Montana. I just think South Dakota, they can hang around, but I think Montana just year in year out, they're always there. They're always fighting till the end. So give me the Grizz in this one.
Yeah, I agree. Shout out to the Grizz. I had a friend of mine that played at Clearview High School that I got to know kind of post high school, and Dre Todd um, play and transfer from Michigan State to Montana to play with the Grizz. The Grizz always there, always big in the FCS world. Although everybody knows them for kind of getting paid their millions of dollars to get beat down by FBS teams. But the Grizz have played good football all year long. Montana and Montana State both were, I did believe, at one point number one and number two in the FCS rankings. Give me the Grizz on this one. Go Grizz! I could see them going far this year, especially with the NDSU being out of there. Moving forward, the Grizz. Give me the Grizz on this one to get a win. As Kyle kind of drops here, FCS schools. For those of you that don't know, and those of you that maybe don't turn into the FCS teams as much, FCS playoffs are a little different. They run a tournament format as opposed to bowl games and things of that nature. They run tournament format kind of similar to what a March Madness would be. So you're kind of seeing they play, I believe each week it is in this tournament style format. They go week in, week out, and try to survive and advance there. So that's kind of what you see. That's typical of what you see throughout the rest of the divisions: NCAA, FCS, NCAA Division Two, NCAA Division Three. Which, speaking of NCAA Division Three, while we wait for Kyle to kind of reconnect here, John Carroll defeats Mount Union. Just wanted to give a shout out to the John Carroll Blue Streaks as Kyle has rejoined us here. Just as kind of a hometown team, being that I went to Division Three school in Baldwin Wallace. Played both John Carroll and Mount Union before John Carroll recently moved division. So shout out to them again.
Hell yeah.
Kyle was kind of just reiterating for viewers that really don't like or don't necessarily know about how the FCS works. FCS does again do tournament style formatting, kind of similar to March Madness basketball. So you'll see a lot of them kind of playing week in and week out and surviving and advancing as things go on, as you kind of really only know them for getting paid to get beat up on by big schools that need some bye weeks.
Yeah, so very interesting. One more game. We'll make this a quick pick. UC Davis versus Illinois State. Illinois State knocked out the number one seed, North Dakota State, this past Saturday. Mark, who do you got?
I'm gonna take Illinois State there. I think when you knock out a number one team like that, then you kind of get a you don't get a lot of time after the fact to really think about it. Again, when you think about how the FCS tournament works, it's kind of similar to that March Madness game. And I think when you get like kind of a Cinderella story, they're always bound to win another game or two after that. And maybe they go and take it all. I'm taking Illinois State in this one. Clearly, they found a way to beat NDSU, who's an FCS powerhouse. And I think they win this next one here, and kind of utilize what they learned through beating that number one seed, and keep the ball rolling and get another win.
Yeah, I've been going back and forth about this a little bit. I I'm gonna go UC Davis. I think. I just think they're playing well right now. I won't be surprised if Illinois State does win, but I just UC Davis. This is their game to win. They got knocked. They don't have to play the one seed. They got home field advantage. So give me UC Davis in that one. So all right, we'll talk more about the CFP next week. That is our goal. We are going to kind of give it a break a little bit this week, just because there's really nothing going on besides these games, pretty much. So we'll talk about that as we get going next week. But really quick, I want to give a shout out to my wonderful Aunt Fran, who recently got engaged a couple of weeks ago to her fiance Mike. So Aunt Fran is my lovely aunt, and I'm very proud of her. I love her, and she's very amazing, and all she's done for me, my sister, my family growing up. And Mike is a great guy as well. I got to meet him from a couple times they've been in town, and he's a very awesome guy. He's very funny, down to earth. So I love you, Aunt Fran. I love you. Congratulations on your proposal, or on your engagement. Love you and cannot wait to celebrate you guys very, very soon. All right, so we still have some crash outs to do. Let's do a quick crash out because I know we have a longer crash out coming. Mark, give your as Notre Dame as this is gonna be a quick crash out because we want to get to the Browns. Notre Dame does not make the college football playoff, and all of a sudden they quit and are not playing a bowl game because they're taking their ball and running or tucking their tail between their legs, Mark. And how stupid and dumb can you be to do this? How stupid. You literally don't make a bowl, but then you run away and you cry like a little girl because you can't get your way to get in when you lost to the two teams that are in that should be in over you because of head to head. You look at your schedule that you're literally playing high school schedule besides those two. And I see people online, oh, everybody wants to see Notre Dame play Michigan, Ohio State, Georgia every year. That's not what we're saying. Just join a damn conference. Just join a damn conference. Your basketball team's in the ACC. Join the goddamn ACC for all I care. Join them and get in the ACC. You can pretty much run that conference every year because that's not really a strong conference like the SEC or Big Ten. So, Mark, it's very frustrating. All these Notre Dame fans and even the team now is crying because they are not getting their way. I don't get it.
I mean, yeah, they're crying like little pussies. Their AD's a pussy. He was on there talking about, oh, we're the hottest team. Yeah, of course you're gonna be the hottest fucking team when you play a bunch of fucking nobodies. Shout out to the fucking committee too, because I was worried they were gonna fuck this up and put Notre Dame in. quite honestly, I was very, very concerned when I started to see the rankings come out. Um, like, here's the thing: those of you that are Notre Dame fans, shut the fuck up, wipe your tears, and listen for 2 fucking seconds. You get to pick your entire schedule because for whatever fucking reason, you have to be the one off of the entire country and be FBS independent for one sport. The AD was talking about, oh, we're never going to join a conference. We'll never sell out. You dumb fucking idiot. You already sold out in all your other sports if you want to talk about selling out. You're in the ACC for everything else. You already did it. And
Or
now
the Big
look,
Ten for hockey.
your
Yeah,
fucking
sure.
dumbass, like your dumbass decisions made it so that because you're so hard headed and you're not gonna sell out on the fucking one sport that you got left, uh, now you're out. Want to know why? Because you scheduled 2 decent games and you lost them both. And guess who's in? The 2 teams that whooped your fucking ass. So cry me a fucking river, join a conference like everybody else, and shut the fuck up. And not to mention the fact that then, after you don't get in, you fucking throw a tantrum like a bitch, straight bitch, and put on a thing. Oh, we're not going to play in a bowl game because we didn't get in a playoff. Because guess who got in front of us? The team that whooped our ass in week 1. Oh no. Okay, don't play in a bowl game. And honestly, then get the fuck out of the NCAA if you don't want to comply. That's what it should be at this point. They need to be penalized, in my personal opinion, for just quitting on a bowl game because that's bitch shit. That's not. There's no integrity in that. You already want to complain about not going into a conference, not selling out, all this extra shit, and then you want to come in and say we're not going to play in a bowl game. Even my fiance, who could give 2 shits about Notre Dame unless they're playing in Ohio State, even she's been following this, and even she said, "Why would you allow as a program a precedent set that you can quit whenever something doesn't go your way. These are college kids, either dudes that are trying to become men, and you're setting a precedent that you're allowed to quit whenever whenever things don't go your way. It's complete bullshit. It's unbelievable that a front, I'll call it a front office, but a program overall would allow their team to just say, yeah, we don't want to play because things didn't go our way. That's not how things work in the real world. And it's not how things work when you're as stubborn as you are, Kyle. I was speaking on the fact that, like, I live with someone that is a diehard Ohio State fan. My fiance even followed this story and said, how could you, as a program that's supposed to, like, as a college program, you're supposed to be creating boys to men and helping them get into the real world, especially those that don't get into the NFL. You're setting a precedent now that says you're allowed to quit, and it is a-okay to quit when things don't go your way. All you have to do is throw a temper tantrum and tell them you're not doing something. That's not how it works in the real world, and now you're setting a really bad precedent moving forward, Kyle. I I'm baffled by this. Shout out to the committee for making this right and forcing them to realize that we don't get to just either A, schedule cupcakes all year long and beat them by 40 and then say that we're the hottest team in the country. And 2, I think it's time for them to join a conference and maybe they'll figure it out. Fuck Notre Dame, fuck their crying ass AD, and fuck them for quitting because that's bullshit all in itself, and it shouldn't be allowed. They need to be punished somehow, some way by the NCAA. Do I think they will? Probably not, because the NCAA is just going to let them go. While there has been some other teams that have declined to be in bowl games as well, based off the fact that a lot of them aren't going to have their coaches and don't know how that's going to work as well. So unfortunately, I don't think the NCAA is going to be able to punish them as other teams with coaching changes not being able to find coaches in time for their bowl games have also declined, Kyle. But the committee got it right in this one, and I just think they're setting a bad precedent for things moving forward. That you're allowed to cry and be little pussies whenever you want, and then you get to quit when things get hard and they don't exactly go your way.
Yeah, as was look at last year. Alabama didn't get in. They didn't cry. They went on. They took on Michigan. Was it Florida State? They even though they should have gotten it a couple years ago, they still played their bowl game and got beat by Georgia. But you cry, and I don't get this. Mark, I sent you this yesterday. They somehow, if they're 12, if they're automatically 12, they get in. The record is like 6-6. They still get in, which is mind-boggling. How they automatically next year they get in, and the record could be like 8-5 or something, and that makes zero sense. Why do they get the president? Why do they get the special treatment to get in? That is dumb. That is stupid. And you know what? Because it's stupid. Now, if I'm teams, if let's say a team that falls, whoever's gonna be behind them, whoever gets first out, okay, well, maybe they should go not non-conference, league the conference, because look, you're obviously getting like, okay, let's say if it was BYU this year, they won the bowl, but Notre Dame got in over BYU because of that clause. If I'm BYU, I'd be like, I guess I'm not playing. I guess, what's the point of playing an extra game then, because it's not going to matter. So, and you can still give BYU or Notre Dame to schedule anybody, but their schedule, Mark, next year, they might seriously be 8-4, 8-5. They got SMU, they got Miami, they got, who else they got? They got Michigan State, they got North Carolina, they got Navy. So they're not going to go, they're going to lose 2 or 3 games. Mark my word, they're going to lose 2 or 3 games somewhere, and they're going to be on the bubble. But you know what? It don't matter if you're the top 12 to get in. So they literally don't have to stress. They have, if they're 9-3 and sitting at like number 12, they really don't care, because they're probably getting in, which is stupid. It is awful that what this is turned into. And if I'm other teams, I'm looking at that and saying, why are they getting special treatment? Because that's not fair to us.
Yep, I completely agree. And quite honestly,
And I know
they're also setting the like with that clause, they're setting a precedent on why in the hell would you ever play any tough out of conference game? Because what the fuck is it going to matter if we lose it? If we lose it,
Yeah.
we're fucked. We take a chance, we're fucked. Because guess what Notre Dame gets to do? They make their entire schedule blank slate because they don't have a conference. They're not forced. Ohio State's forced to play Michigan every year. They're forced to potentially play in Oregon or a Penn State or in Indiana or in Illinois at some point. Notre Dame doesn't have to force to play anybody. The only people they're forced to play is sometimes USC, and they actually can void that if they want to because they're not bound by conference.
Yeah.
It's completely fucking ridiculous. You're giving these guys, for whatever reason, preferential treatment, and they're not even that good. Their whole program is so, oh, we're the hottest team in the country. You're playing fucking nobody. If Ohio State, if Michigan had that schedule, they go undefeated every single year. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
No doubt. No doubt. I completely agree with you. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes next year. It'll be very interesting. As we forgot, as it is Army Navy week, we've completely forgot about that.
What?
Make the pick. That's why we're kind of wearing our United States stuff this week. Mark, quick pick before we move on. Army versus Navy.
I'm going Navy on this one. Navy's looked good all year. I was really hoping the Navy would be able to pull it out in that group of 5 slot. However, they kind of ran out of gas and ran into some tough teams down the stretch. I like Navy to close this one out. They've been pretty dominant in this matchup for the last few times, and I think they continue their dominance. Although, all what I hope for is a good game, and to salute to all the troops that are going through that situation where they're not only serving our country, but they're also playing the game that they love and getting that education while being reserves and things like that. So shout out to them. That's a lot on their plate, and I'm glad they're getting the recognition this week that they do deserve. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Game Day goes there one more time this year. I believe, I'm not mistaken.
No, they're not going. They're done. They're done till the CFP.
Okay. So, because I know every once in a while they sometimes try to go, but again, just shout out to them. Shout out to everything they have going on, and I just hope for it to be a great game, as they deserve that solo stage that they do get, in my personal opinion, where it's kind of them and then some of these lower tier FCS games, and I'm excited to just see a good game out of both of them.
Yeah, I'm going Navy. I just think Army. It should be a good game. Both teams run the ball. I'm going Navy. But we're all rooting for America. This is America's game. And if you guys, not football fans and football fans that only watch the bigger games, you need to check this game out. It's not just about. It's like a Michigan Ohio State rivalry. They don't like each other on the field. It's a very it's a very fun game to watch. It's one of those games where there's nothing, no college football on, blah blah blah. This is a game to watch. This is a game that's gonna, even if you're not, I know we have a couple non-football fans that kind of watch the show from time to time. If you want something to watch Army Navy. It's just a great game all around, and I know I'm tuned in. Me and Mark are tuned in every single year to this, and it's just fun to watch. It's fun to watch all the cadets play and soldiers, and it's just a fun game and fun way to celebrate America. So that's the college wrap up of the week. We did talk about Brian Hartline earlier, so we're not going to touch on that. We'll touch on that as we kind of get closer. But we're going to move to NFL. We're going to try to keep it within the time length so we're not boring you guys. Browns lose to the Titans 31-29. Here we go again, Mark. The team gave up. Terrible play calling. Sanders had his best game of his career so far. Literally, the team play was playing. The defense was playing uninspired football for some reason. And still, Stefanski has to go. The fact that he's still the coach as of 11:30 a.m. on Monday, December 8th, is really no reason to be enthusiastic about the feat right now. But Mark, crash out number 2. Go right ahead.
Yeah, Stefanski, you're a fucking bum. Sander, it's so clear. Actually, you know what? First things first, Kash Patel. I know you're probably fucking busy. You probably could care for fuck's sake about what we got going on our show. But you need to fucking start investigating Stefanski here. We have a chance to win. Let's go back. It was 2 weeks ago? The over was about to hit. Stefanski fucking punched from our own 30. Or from the opposing team's 30. Strike number 1. Strike number 2. This week, Sanders throws for fucking 360 yards. 3 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. Leads you down for the game-tying score. You gotta go for 2. What does Stefanski do? The same dumb, retard, stupid shit that he always does, and he runs Wildcat. What does he do in this Wildcat? He tries to run a fucking reverse pass to a lineman. Why is Sanders not on the field? He's on a heater. He's going toe-to-toe with the number 1 overall draft pick of the year, his best friend, one of his best friends in the draft, outside of Kitchen, Colorado, playing an amazing game. Stefanski sandbags him. We lose the game on a retarded play call, and then he wants to go up to that podium all smug and shit. Oh, yeah, it's all my fault. Yes, it is your fault, you dumb bitch. You've been sandbagging the team all year fucking long. You're the reason the defense doesn't want to fucking play anymore because you can't figure it out. You didn't put the right guy in. You drafted Dylan Shitreel. He needs to fucking go. It's clear that Sanders is our guy moving forward. You got Watson as the vet. Stefanski, you fucked up. You need to be fired. The fact that he has a job right now at 11:30 a.m. on Monday is fucking ridiculous. It's coaching malpractice, and I guarantee you he's point shaving or something, and I can't wait for it to come out because I'm going to text him. I'm going to find his number somehow, some way. I'm going to DM him. I'm going to DM his wife. If he has kids, I'm going to DM his fucking kids. I'm going to tell them all, y'all should have been fucking fired a long time ago. I can't wait for you to get out of fucking Cleveland because you can't get out fast enough, you fucking bum. I hate him. I hate him.
Yeah, I don't get it. I want to talk about this Wildcat for a minute. And I know I've talked to a couple people that they love the Wildcat, but you can't run the single Wildcat every play. Now I get it; they were coming up with creativity. I like that, but at the same time, I told you a couple times, Mark, you can't always run on the Wildcat. Create a pop pass, create a play fake, because it got stuffed. I think yesterday it got stuffed at least once or twice in the red zone yesterday. It got stuffed, even trying to convert a first down. So you got to create more. And I love the creativity. You're making a great creativity. Okay, I'll give him that at least. But like Mark said, you had Sanders in there. You just let him. You don't. At the time, why are you going for the first 2-point conversion? Kick the field goal. Now you're down 2. Now you got to worry about scoring and going for another 2-point conversion. So it's dumb. It's really dumb. The coaching sucks. And Stefanski, And the defense is getting tired because they're out there. The offense can't move the ball. The defense is always out there. Jim Schwartz can only dial up, and the defense can only play. And you know what? The Titans don't have an offensive line. Everybody's talking about Miles going to break probably the single game record this week. But what the hell happened? The line. I don't get how Tennessee's line was that strong against our defensive front. Now I get it. We've had injuries as it's being shown, but at the same time, I don't know. And the special teams, they let Tony Pollard run for like 200 yards on their heads, and the special teams players is still the guy that fumbled the ball last week that cost us a game. He's still catching punts. Like it's really.
He muffed the fucking another one yesterday.
He muffed another one, and it's just very, very frustrating because when this happens, I don't get it. The special teams coordinator's got to go. Space's got to go. I don't get why if you're going to fire the coach, I don't know why you're waiting till next season, or not next season, at the end of the season to fire him. Just get rid of him. Just get rid of him now. Let Schwartz be the interim. If he wants to call it D, let him call it D. If not, bring someone down to call it D. The season's over. You're 3-10. I think you're the top 5, I think, still right now. And you're one game away from the Titans jumping you. You're one game away from the Titans jumping you pretty much because they will hold the tiebreaker. So if you lose this week, which you probably will, to the Chicago Bears, that the Titans somehow do win, as I don't know who Tennessee's got, but at the same time, they jump over you. It's gonna be, it's frustrating, folks. It's frustrating. You had that was a game you needed to win for confidence. Now, on the other hand, I'm happy they didn't win because a win probably keeps Stefanski's job a little more. But I'm happy they didn't win. And now, let's go to Sanders, Mark. I told you this. He could throw the ball against a team like this, but we're going to know if he's the guy. He's got to play the Bears. He's got to play the Steelers. He's got to play the Bills. And then he's got to play the Bengals. So we're going to know if he's the guy, Mark. Is he the guy right now? Probably. But I'm telling you, Watson's hanging around. If Sanders does not look good against these defenses, Watson's starting week 1 next year. That's how I see it.
And quite honestly, I don't even think that I would mind Watson starting week 1 because I still think you got to see what you got in him. You have one more year. You paid him all this money. I think regardless, he has to start week 1 unless Sanders just continues this run and sets the world on fire with what we got going on next year. And I believe I was talking to my stepdad about this just yesterday. At the end of the day, I know there's reports coming out now that they're looking to move on from either Gabriel or Sanders because of the fact that you're strapped with Watson. I think when you look at things and look at things objectively, don't look at it as I love Sanders or I hate Sanders. Look at it as you're starting Watson week 1 pretty much no matter what. You have one more opportunity. Use your 2 first-round draft picks, especially because Jacksonville's really fucking us over by continuing to win games somehow, some way. And that draft pick is becoming more and more shit as we go on. That's going to be a late-round pick. You're pretty much forced at this point to build around these quarterbacks. Sanders and Watson are going to run the same type of offense. Sanders is thriving right now. He's played better and better each and every week that he's took the field. Last week, while the Titans are good, they're still an NFL team. Or they're not very good. They're still an NFL team, and they've held other quarterbacks to less. Sanders comes and lights them on fire for almost 400 yards. With no weapons. None. Now, he plays a gauntlet of defenses kind of sort of coming up. The O-line is getting kind of beaten and battered with injuries again. So we'll see how they hold up and who plays and who doesn't. But I think the next big thing that comes out of this I think going forward, you have to shore up the O-line, you have to get some receivers, and you plan on Watson starting next year while Sanders gets another opportunity for some understudy work. He's gotten his reps this year. In my opinion, he's looked good. He's shown the flashes. He's shown the arm strength. He's shown the accuracy. Now, he does have gunslinger problems, which we all knew he did in college, where he is going to take chances to try to make plays. Even, I believe it was Batonio said it yesterday. He's going to sit there. We might have to block forever, but that's okay because he's going to try to make plays for us to keep us in the game. I think that's important. You have all of your veterans. Batonio is a captain on this team. He might retire this year, but regardless, he's a captain, a well-respected veteran around the league. he's giving the backing on Sanders, which he never did with Gabriel, saying this guy is out here trying to make plays. He's fighting. He's a warrior. That's what you want to see in a locker room. I think he has the locker room on his side. I think moving forward, he has the potential. He has the flashes there. He's got to sort up some things, decision making wise, which I won't disagree with. There are times where he makes some real fucking bad decisions. Kind of reminds me of Baker Mayfield a little bit, or like a Brett Favre esque thrower when it comes to those decisions. But I think he's shown the flashes of being the guy. I think you still see what you have in Watson next year. I am okay with him not playing the rest of the year. This year, there's no point in potentially going back through an injury situation with him where he has another hell-breaking injury. You give him an offseason, maybe give him some extra weapons. But I think Shador is showing you that there's a lot of potential there if you give him a real shot and a real opportunity. And it'll be exciting to see what we have against some high-rated defenses that have things to play for coming up here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, and you're playing right now. You're playing to maybe are they tanking? We don't know now. We don't know what they're doing in the draft because Mendoza showed he's a quarterback threat. Carnell Tate's still out there now. If now you pretty much hope Tennessee keeps winning because Tennessee keeps winning, you're going to leapfrog them and you're going to probably get the 1 or 2 pick along either them or the Jets. But I just think if you want, as we go back to the discussion we had kind of last week, you want Shador to succeed and win, but that's going to come at a cost of maybe you're not going to get a Carnell Tate or you're not going to get a Mendoza if they choose to go. We still do not know who the GM's going to be, who the coach is going to be, so I think that's going to play a factor in what we do. But we do need offensive line, we do need receivers, so it's I don't know. It's frustrating because this team has showed, as Mark, you said it, the team has showed flashes, Sanders has shown flashes, but now you're to a point where the coach is making stupid plays. And I'll be honest, I'll be the first to admit, maybe I'm not the first to admit, but at least out of our friend group, I think Tommy Reese needs to go too. I think we could do better there. I get it, he's from Alabama, but I think he could go. I think we could do better. Hope the new coach doesn't retain Reese. I hope he makes an effort to get rid of him or ask the front office to get rid of him because I think that's what's going to happen. Reese is not the guy. I think we could do better, but I don't know. We'll be able to see what happens. I want, as Mark me talk about the head coach. Give me Mike McCarthy. I love Mike McCarthy. He could develop. He could.
Yep.
You give him Mike McCarthy. Give him 3 to 4 years. Develop the team. Get to playoffs. Maybe win a Super Bowl. And then if he gets close, you extend him. But I think McCarthy's ready to go. We see him every week. He's freshen up. He's ready to go. So I don't know where we go from here. Because next year, if we don't get hit on the right coach, we're probably in the same spot trying to figure out what's going on. And I get it, you're tanking, but I don't know. The defense looks horrid. Everything looks horrid. There's nothing looks good. The defense still looks good, but at the same time, nothing looked good yesterday against a 1-11 team. Now, Mark, I don't get it.
Tony Pollard, who hasn't had a 100-yard rushing game, and I think since they said like a single-digit week, fucking Swiss cheesed us.
Yeah.
He Swiss cheesed us. And our best portion of our defense is our D-line.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett, we've had upwards 4+ sacks in every game almost in the last 5 games. We got 1 sack yesterday. 1.
Yeah.
And
frustrating.
I really like Cam Ward as a quarterback. I think he's going to be really good in this league if the Titans do right by him. But at the same time, he's not exactly Lamar Jackson.
It's frustrating.
1 sack against this team? Are we kidding?
Yeah.
But I can't even blame the defense because defensively, well, actually, you know what? I can blame the defense because this week they were on the field less than I think they've been on the field all season for a single game, and they just played uninspired football. They looked like they could care less if they were there or not, and that shit was really pissing me off because at the same time, they're giving the rookie support, which I love because this is the rookie that I liked. This is the rookie that I wanted the entire time. And I know that that's not always the popular opinion. It's kind of 50-50 with the Cleveland crowd. This is a quarterback that I wanted the entire time. But at the same time, if you're going to back him in the media, you got to back him on the field too even if you're mathematically out for the playoffs. And they just didn't do that. They put him in a really bad spot, and they could have stopped Stefanski from sandbagging Sanders yesterday, and instead they let Tony Pollard destroy them. Tony
Yeah,
Pollard,
yeah.
like what? It's and
I
Miles
don't get
Garrett
it.
will come out and say, "Oh, we got to play better. Oh, I wish we had a better team." Well, you could have saved this a little bit yesterday, buddy. And you had one sack. I know you're gonna go and you're gonna break the fucking sack record. You're gonna fucking jerk off to your little sack record, whatever you're gonna do. But you still fucked us over at the end of the day, bud.
This is it's very frustrating, folks. I know as Browns fan, like it's just there's really we don't. I I don't even know what to say anymore. Like, it's the same song, or the dance, repeat, rinse, repeat, whatever, every
Yeah, it's the
single week
same
with
song
this
and
team.
dance every fucking week.
Song and dance. There you go. Thank you. Same song and dance every week. It's lose and we get frustrated. It's like that's why we don't. We want to get to a point where we want to pick these games with the Browns. Like, do we think the Browns are going to win? Do they fall? Like, we want to do that, but we can't because we know the outcome. They should be. They should lose to the Bears. They're probably going to lose to the Steelers. But there's a game. Maybe it's either going to be the Steelers or the Bills. We're going to win a game. We're not one of those games. We're going to win. We're not supposed to win. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the Bills because we always play the Bills tough, and I just think with the Bills coming up, that's a game we don't. That's a game we're gonna win. March. That'll be the game we're not supposed to win, and we win by like a touchdown or something. So we'll see how that goes. Browns suck, and we'll see. We're on to next week. They got Chicago, and Chicago. Look at Chicago. How well Chicago's playing. They're gonna run the ball or throw the ball and all over the yard, and it'll be another more salt in the wound. How a team could turn it around so quickly and are fighting for a playoff spot right now. So very
I mean,
interesting
yeah,
to.
I agree, and at the same time, I am sick and tired of hearing that Browns fans are ungrateful. That Browns fans are all this shit. How about you come to it? How about you come root for a team for your entire life that finds a new way to lose every week? Every
Yeah.
week in the past 4 weeks, we found a different way to lose. First, it was special teams. Now, a
Yep.
fucking Wildcat play lost us the game. Wildcat play. You know when the last time the Wildcat was fucking nice? In like 2014 when the last NCAA game come out because Oregon ran the Wildcat all over the place with Chip Kelly when Chip Kelly was actually relevant and was wanted as a coach. That's how long it's been.
Yep.
Kyle, that was 10 years ago. 10! And we're back to running the Wildcat because they want to fucking make our team that shitty. Like, this team is cursed.
I don't mind the
So,
Wildcat.
for those of you that say, for those of you that come out here and say, oh, Browns fans, you have the quarterback, you got this, you got that, at least you got an NFL team. You come root for this team, pussy, and you fucking figure it out. Because this shit's horrible.
Oh boy, what a day of crash outs, huh?
God, I wish I could see Kevin Stefanski in public. I really wish I could. I wouldn't even hit him. I just genuinely want to ask, like, how much money are you making off of this gambling shit? Because I want to know. I want a piece.
He'll say we'll have to be better. Well, yeah, because we can't win parlays either because our
Oh,
parlays suck.
it's all my fault. It's all my fault. Like, okay, buddy, yeah, it is all your fault. And you're lucky you got a fucking
Man.
job. He probably got somebody's nudes or something on his fucking phone, and that's how he won't get fired. He's
Oh
got
my
blackmail somewhere, I'm
goodness.
telling you.
My goodness. Well, that's the Browns situation for this week. Come back next week. We'll do it all again, folks. Do it all again when we lose to the Bears by probably 20.
Yeah,
So,
and Sanders
all
will
right,
run for 500 yards, and we'll still get our asses whooped.
probably, yeah. All right, we're gonna do kind of a quick check around the league as we keep going. What's going on with the Colts? They lose 36-19, and looks like Mark they just lost their quarterback, and they may just fall out of a playoff spot. Their quarterback's done for the year, and they got to rely on Riley Leonard of all quarterbacks to try to get back into it.
Duke,
But it's not. It's not. And Notre Dame. It's not looking good though. But how about the Jags costing the Browns another draft pick with playing and being a division winner?
that's what I got to say about the Jags. They're really fucking us over, especially when their pick is on IR, and he's out for the damn season. How is this even possible? They're supposed to be shitty. We're supposed to get a good pick. Now they're sitting there winning games they're not supposed to win, being in places they're not supposed to be, and I'm tired of it. Of course, this is how the Cleveland Browns season works. However, the Colts, I don't wonder if their downfall has been because maybe Daniel Jones' injury was worse than we thought, or maybe it did more damage than what the Colts even knew. I know he had that slight like stress fracture or whatever it was, but it seemed like he was holding an Achilles injury yesterday. I'm sure reports will come out later today
It
on the
is.
day of this recording. It's a Monday. Did they confirm it was Achilles?
Yeah, he's out like 9 months. 9 months after surgery.
Yeah. So I mean, that's an L to Daniel Jones, especially because he had a career resurgence this year. He was looking good. Then he had that injury of the fibula. I don't wonder if he did something there where maybe it weakened some things down there. He hasn't looked the same since the injury. And and the Colts, I mean, now they have no first round picks as well. They gave him away to get Sauce, and they're kind of relying on Riley Leonard here. But the Colts downfall kind of is going to get studied and looked at here as our guy Pat McAfee, I'm sure, is in shambles and standing at the edge of that cliff. Um, but Pat, it's okay. You can still try to root for the Browns if you want. I promise you, we have it worse. But I mean, at the
We'll
end of
know.
the
We'll
day,
hear a lot about that tonight when we turn it on. We'll hear a lot more about how he
oh,
feels.
100%. And that division um, has been kind of crazy as a whole. And it's really too bad because I really was excited for the Colts to kind of get back to glory after Andrew Luck's injury and retirement kind of ended them early. It'll be interesting to see how they move forward. But yeah, it sucks to see Daniel Jones go down like that. And now all of a sudden, the Jags, for a second time in the last, 3, 4 years, somehow, some way, are just sneaking their way into the playoffs and into these winning runs. And Trevor Lawrence now gets another pass because he's about to win their division and get into the playoffs to have a chance. Um, and we'll see what they do with their opportunity. And of course, this is the year that the Jags do this and the Colts implode because we have their picks for the next 2 years.
Just the Browns way, right? Browns way. It always happens like this. And but you gotta give credit to Jags. They're one of those teams that kind of roller coaster up and down, up and down. But hey, they got a new coach, they got a new team or new kind of system going on. But even without the number one overall pick, who's on the IR, but look at them. They're winning very good teams right. They're winning games that they should have. They got one more game against the Colts, I believe. I think the final week of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Could be I think a week before, but the Colts. They got a hard schedule. They still got Seattle coming up. They still got the 49ers coming up. They still got Houston coming up. I'm always surprised they missed the playoffs after this hot start. They're on a losing streak, and it might just continue, folks. It might just they got the hardest schedule in the NFL coming up, so it's gonna be very interesting how this cold season plays out. They're gonna have to rely on Jonathan Taylor. Now, did they bring in like a guy? Because we know it sounds like there's rumors that Flacco's done with the Bengals. Did they bring in Flacco to try to save their season? They'll probably have to move quick on that. But I think the Bengals have to release him and the trade deadline's passed, so that's not going to happen. But it's going to be very interesting to see. Very interesting to see how it goes. I just don't know if I just don't think the Colts have it in them, and it sucks because of the how they were 8-1 at one point. Now they're like 8-3 or 8-4 on a little bit of a slide here. And look how they had promise. Jonathan Taylor was going off. The receivers are getting. I think they need another receiver to go along with Pittman. I mean, Pierce and Josh Downs, they're hit and miss. But if they get another guy they got their tight end. If they get another guy with Pittman, and now they just lost their best defensive guy too. They traded all those picks, and he's going to be out. So it's not looking good for the fighting Colts, Mark. And it's going to be interesting to see if what they got the hardest schedule. Probably not going to be. I wouldn't be surprised. Like I was telling them, they missed the playoffs.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they did either. Um, Quite honestly, it would just be kind of how their season went. Obviously, the injury bug really hit them hard. Um, if I was them, unfortunately, I don't know that I would really. Um, I don't know that I would really go after any quarterbacks. Riley Leonard kind of plays similar to Daniel Jones, and I think at this point in time, you're already so far into your implosion that I don't know that anyone can really save it that's out there, and you'd be hoping that somebody kind of cut ties and blessed you. But then you're probably getting Cash Patel called on you anyways for some type of collusion, so you're fucked there regardless. And I think you kind of just realize that injuries hit you in every single way that you possibly didn't want them to, and now you kind of just are where you are, and it really sucks because I was excited. I mean, we were all excited about that team and the way they were playing it at their height when they were healthy.
Yeah, so it'll be very interesting to see. Colts have hardest schedule, Seattle next week. So basically, who their quarterback situation is, and if the team can respond to make one last run. All right, we're gonna move on to Pitt and Baltimore as Pitt defeated Baltimore 27-22, back and forth for the division lead. Mark, Pitt got that much needed win after a lot of Tomlin criticism this week, saying that maybe they should fire him or they should do a coach's trade. But hey, Rodgers got back in front. He actually ran in a touchdown. How about that? Of all players running in a touchdown. Are the Ravens gonna be done? Are they done? Even though they still got a decent amount of schedule to possibly go on a run. But Pitt, they're maybe a game or two wins away from maybe clinching the division and getting into the playoffs. And you laughing at me earlier in the season, it might come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, the AFC North as a whole has been a very interesting story in its own right. Being that the Browns are the Browns, they always do some weird shit. But you have the Bengals who kind of looked like they were going to surge, and I'm sure we'll talk about them here in a minute, but they basically gave their opportunity away to win the division. The Ravens started off slow, got hit with a bunch of injuries, and now it's between kind of the Ravens and the Steelers. But they both hit their bumps in the road as they try to edge each other out. I don't really know which way it's going. I wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers won. It's kind of going to be based off, I think, if Aaron Rodgers can not only stay healthy but stay the course. Because I think he still has this overblown viewpoint of himself that that he's still like 5 years younger than what he actually is, and his arm talent isn't the same as what it was before. I mean, they should in theory win the division, but the Ravens are still right there, so I wouldn't be surprised, Kyle. For your sake and for the final whistles sake, I hope that they do win and your take comes to fruition because I think we all just need a breath of fresh air and a little bit of a win here because Lord knows our bets aren't.
Hey, we are 1-0 on hot takes. Mark picked the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, and they're playing in the Hawaii Bowl Christmas Eve. So, hey, hats off to Mark for 1-0 on those. So playing the California Bears. Cannot wait to watch that game and some of these bowl games. But, yeah, it's a weird season. Baltimore, Kansas City, like they're all 6 and 6-7. 6-7, they're all 6 and 7, they're all struggling. So it'll be if Pitt gets in, dude, it's the Tomlin voodoo, man. If Pitt gets in, do they win a game? I think, but they're probably playing wild card weekend somewhere, either at home or probably at home. I would think, because I think division at least get the home game, but they're not getting a 1 seed. Patriots pretty much got that locked up, or Denver, depending on what happens there. But Pitt, they're going to get in. I just think they're in Baltimore. Are we counting them out yet, or are we kind of letting them hang around a little bit because they still got? I think they got Pitt one more time, but it's becoming late. They got Baltimore's got the Patriots not this coming week, but next week. So Baltimore and Kansas City both missing the playoffs this year. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be nuts to see?
It's a new dawn, Kyle. It's a new dawn.
New dawn and new days. We continue here as it was a good game. It's very weird to see that a team like Baltimore struggling after they had everybody coming back. I mean, granted, their defense had some injuries, but their offense, I mean, they had Lamar out, but they played a little bit better without Lamar. But they need to go on a run here. They got 4 weeks to go on a run. If they can, they'll get in. If not, I think we're going to be watching Baltimore stay at home and only one AFC North. Usually there's 2 or 3 AFC North teams that make it, but maybe not this year. Maybe only one with Pittsburgh or the winner of the division. All right, we're going to go to let's go. I want to do Bears and Green Bay, but I think it was a good game. Green Bay did win 28-21. It was a great back and forth game, Mark. Great offense, great defense. It showed the Bears are really here to stay. And the offense, Green Bay's offense still looked hot. Yeah, the Green Bay offense continued hot as it was a great NFC North battle. They play each other again next week. So that's going to be very interesting in the last 3 weeks, both coaches hate each other as they're not really good friends. You kind of saw it at the handshake. But, hey, a great battle in the cold, great NFC North battle. And here you are playing here you are as you lose. How funny is this? Bears were like the 1 seed coming into this week, and they fall all the way to the 7th seed if they lost. That's how crunched up the NFC is going into next week.
Especially, and so we were talking about how crazy the AFC North is, right? In the complete flip of this, um, the what's it called? The NFC, that division with the Bears, the Lions, the Packers, the Vikings is honestly on the flip side one of the most insane divisions I've ever seen. They're all like 8-5 ish. As I take a look here to backtrack myself, so they all have outside of Minnesota, we have the Lions who are 8-5, the Bears who are 9-4, Green Bay who's 9-3. Um, so when I look at this, they're all crunched up, but they're all dominating everyone. And the Vikings really aren't slouches either. Like you've got like they outside of the NFC West, who has the Rams and the Seahawks, the Rams, Seahawks, the 49ers, which that division is equally as crazy. Between those two divisions, you have all of your 9 and 10 win teams. It's insane the way the NFC is working, and they all have so much talent on that side of the NFL. It's like it's making up for some of the greatest playoff runs we'll probably ever see. Like, and I'm not even kidding. And Caleb Williams, kudos to you because I thought you were going to be a bust. You painted your fingernails like a girl. You cried like a girl at USC, but you've shut me up completely. I thought the Bears really got it wrong. I wanted them to take Jaden Daniels #1 because I thought he was the best. He was completely the best option. And you have completely shut me up in year two. Kudos to you, Caleb Williams. Even though they take the loss yesterday, they're definitely there to stay. And I'm excited to see what they do in the future. Just please stop painting your nails.
Yeah, so it's weird. It's definitely interesting. I just the way that the turnaround. If we go back to the Browns, because we always say this every week with the Sol Moon, the turnaround can happen. It's very possible. You look at if the Bears somehow don't make the playoffs, it's still a turnaround from what they did last year. So hats off to them. They're gonna get there. It's weird to see. It's the Bears are playing good, and Green Bay's Green Bay. As they got one of their better receivers back in Jalen Reed, and they got Christian Watson, Dobbs. They got a plethora of receivers. Their running backs they still have two decent running backs. So Green Bay can make a run too. I'm only surprised if they make a run and get into the NFC Championship game because who knows if the Eagles lose this week. Yeah, but if the Eagles lose to the Chargers on Monday Night Football tonight, the time of this recording, there's going to be a lot of pessimism that the Eagles are going to make a run because now you just lost again, and you'll get the Raiders. You should beat the Raiders next week, but then you still got two with Washington, and you still got the Bills coming up if you're the Eagles. So I think this is a must win tonight. You lose tonight.
Must win tonight.
This is a must win tonight. You don't win tonight for the bank. I know we're talking Bears. Green Bay, but for seeding purposes, you don't win tonight. The Bears are hoping because now the Bears could be like, well, we're a game ahead of you guys at like 9-5 or 8-5, wherever they are. So I like the Bears' chances to get in. I think they sneak in. I think if they can beat the Packers next week on Saturday, I think they get in. Mark, I'm just telling you right now, I think they're winning in.
I actually agree with that sentiment based on the fact that not only do I like the way the Bears are playing, but again, I've been on the same train that I've been all year long when it comes to the Eagles. This reminds me of that team that kind of barely got in a couple years ago after their Super Bowl appearance. I don't really like the way they're playing football, and I don't like the way their locker room appears to be. I think that maybe they get a win tonight, but I'm not really high on them overall as a team. But I am very high on the Bears as of right now. The Bears just really impressed me the way they're playing football, and the way Ben Johnson's come out coaching that team is I think second to none in his first year. He's completely changed that offense and the morale of the team. And I like the Bears to sneak in as well. I think they're they have just as many weapons as the Green Bay Packers do. I think they're very well coached, and I think they can also lean on a run game. Which shout out to Big Ten alum Kyle Monungai, who just continue to show that there's still opportunities in the seventh round if you look hard enough.
Yeah, so they play next week. We'll dive into that game next week as well. So one more game. We'll do a quick kind of take on this. What is going on with Kansas City? They are literally on the verge of being eliminated from the playoffs. They got eliminated from the division title last night on Sunday. Houston, here comes Houston. All of a sudden, they're in the playoff spot. Mark, is the KC dynasty really over after Houston looked out of playoffs? Now they're back in. Is the dynasty over in Kansas City?
So what I will say is, how I like Houston's quarterback C.J. Stroud, OSU alum, arguably one of the best OSU quarterbacks in recent memory. But at the same time, Houston's finally kind of taking the form of what I think everybody thought they should be at this point. They kind of went through a third-year slump. There were some injury concerns throughout their season, but they're finally starting to pick it up. And I think the rest of the league has finally caught up with Kansas City. They're now getting older. Their weapons are getting older. I think I seen a tweet the other day that Rashee Rice finally figured out how it was to get hit at top speed and nobody care about it. He got definitely hit and run on that play, that's for sure. That boy got demolished. I think when they said Rice, he thought he was eating food and not getting his name
He got
called.
smacked.
But nonetheless, I mean, I think, and now I love Travis Kelce based on the fact that he is a Cleveland guy, but I think he's just at that point in his career where he's not very interested in football anymore, especially with his crazy famous fiance now and things of that nature. I think he's just looking too much to maybe what life after the NFL holds. You've got Mahomes, but at the same time, there's so much tape on Mahomes that there's only so much that he can do. I think they drafted their draft picks in recent years to kind of supplement what they lost in off seasons, and I think that's also now starting to bite them. They didn't draft for sheer talent; they drafted for what they lost the year prior with years with Tyreek Hill not being gone, whatever. Like they could have had number one receivers out of those drafts that they decided not to take because they wanted the fastest guy or they wanted the certain guy on defense that they lost. They were just taking to supplement players. They weren't taking best possible to reload, and I think that's part of the problem as well. Their team is just getting old. They're relying on guys like Juju Smith-Schuster, Hollywood Brown, Travis Kelce, and and that has made it so that guys like Xavier Worthy, who probably should have developed more already, haven't gotten that chance because all they use them for is downfield speed, and that's it. They're not developing guys; they're just using them for their specific skill set, and it's starting to bite them in the ass. As well as, I think the tape is out on their defense as well. Their defense and their offense can be had and will be had, and there's so much tape on them that I think the rest of the league is caught up. And there's so many good quarterbacks in the league now that you can't just put it all on this Mahomes magic because there's just a lot of good teams out there now. They're not that team that just has all these weapons and the greatest quarterback ever. Yeah, he might be the greatest quarterback ever, but he can't do it all on his own. You need weapons now, and they just have a lack of them.
Yeah, and it's just hard. I just think they were pressing a little bit. They went for that couple fourth downs early in the fourth quarter. They were like, well, if we don't score, if we don't get the convert, I think I think they got scared. They're not used to being in this situation. So I know Andy Reid's kind of is, but I just think he's like, they're kind of like the same point. Well, I never thought they would get like this again, and here they are. And I think I was talking to a couple of our other friends last night about it, Mark. It's weird to see it's weird. I don't even know how to say it.
It's a very, very interesting fishtail to watch because
we should maybe taken signs on this when they got boat raced in the Super Bowl, because I think maybe no one really, everybody was like, oh, okay, it's just one of those years. The Chiefs are the Chiefs; they'll come back. But now, well, maybe not. They're not even gonna make the Super Bowl. And the Eagles might not even make the Super Bowl. So it's gonna be a very interesting playoff race as we get going. Once the playoffs are set, we cannot wait to dive into that in a couple weeks. But it'd be a very interesting race to see who gets in and who makes that run to New Orleans or Santa Clara. But there's a lot of good teams, Mark. And Kansas City not being there, it's going to be weird to see, but I think most of America is going to be celebrating that they're finally not in it for once, and maybe even the Eagles.
Yeah, I would agree. It breeds a lot of new life into the NFL that I think people have kind of complained has gotten a bit stale because um, you kind of already knew who was going to be where at the end of it. Now all of a sudden there's new life, there's new teams, and there's really good new teams that are young. They like to score the ball. You've got teams like the Lions that came from the depths of hell to become a good team. You've got teams like the Patriots and the Packers, which a lot of these young kids that maybe don't remember when we were young, when the Packers and the Patriots basically ran football. They're back to the top of the mountain, but there's also teams like the Bears who have resurged, and the Rams who, I mean, Matt Stafford is going to be the MVP this year. He's on a tear at 40 years old. You've got the Seahawks, who, I mean, they're resurging again. So like history is kind of repeating itself, and it's very exciting to see because you thought these teams were dead, and they're all coming out of the depths of hell to come back with a vengeance, and they're just whooping the shit out of some of these teams.
Yeah, so it's be very interesting to see the playoff race. Kansas City pretty much need to win and get in. So with that, all right, we're gonna wrap up. We're gonna do kind of quick picks. I know your guys' time is valuable. We appreciate if you made it this far. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're gonna do quick picks, Mark. Kind of some huge games that will decide the playoff seeding and racing. Bills, Patriots. Bills win. They're still alive for the division. Lose. Patriots pretty much have wrapped up the division. Mark, who you taking?
I think I'm going to take the Patriots here. I like the way the Drake May's playing. I like the way the Patriots are playing, and the Bills have been, while they're a very good team, and I can't take anything away from Josh Allen, and the way he's kind of willed this team to win as much as possible. I just think that they're too inconsistent, and Um, they're not getting enough things out of their weapons. It's very like they're very lackluster performances. It seems like they might have some locker room issues as well, which is kind of concerning. I just think that they don't have enough to compete with the Patriots right now, who are on a tear. And at the end of the day, I think the Patriots wrap up their division and they're back to prominence. And I like them as big time Super Bowl contenders as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's weird that an NFL team, does not have a number one receiver. The technical, quote unquote, number one receiver just got benched a couple weeks ago for a healthy scratch. So it's just very weird, very interesting to see. I don't want to count out the Bills, but the Pats are playing so well right now. So give me the Pats. But if the Bills would win, but it's in Fox, yeah, I'm going Patriots. I would say Bills in Foxborough, but the Bills. Do they get in? There's still. I don't know. I think maybe they get the
Do
seventh
we
seed.
live in
This
the
this
world? Do we live in the world where the prior MVP and maybe one of the top three greatest quarterbacks of all time both missed the playoffs in the same year?
Yeah, this is wild stuff. That's why we love to talk about it. It's why, as we always say, what our one good friend says, Mark, it is magical the way this. And we're lucky to talk about it every week. So let's go with we're gonna quick a lot of late games too this week. Colts Seahawks. The
Yeah.
Colts bounce back. I don't think so. I like the Seahawks. Seahawks are making a run at this. Do they get in? Do they sneak in the number one seed? Do they make a run? I like Seattle on this one over the quarterbackless Colts.
Yeah, I agree. I love the Seattle Seahawks. I love the way Darnold's playing. Um, Jackson Smith and Jigba is putting on for wide receiver U, Ohio State. If you go back to interviews before, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, all those boys literally said this guy is the best out of all of us. You just haven't seen it yet. You saw flashes of it in the Rose Bowl at Ohio State, and now look at the year he's having this year. He's already set the single season record for the Seahawks receiving yards and touchdowns. And he broke it in less time than DK Metcalf did. I mean,
Yep.
he's a fucking star. Darnold resurrected his career, and I love the way the Seahawks are playing football. They have a really young and hungry defense. Give me the Seahawks, and their coach might be coach of the year this year, quite honestly.
Yeah, you got to give them that in a tough division. They got with the Rams next week. If they could beat the Colts and set up a pivotal showdown with the Rams next week on Thursday Night Football, that would be definitely worth the watch there. All right, here's the one we didn't think we'd have to talk about, but the Lions and Rams. Oh, the Lions big win on Thursday Night Football against the Cowboys, and the Rams are the Rams. Mark, who you taking?
I'm going to stay in that division, and I'm going to take the Rams as well. I mean, you're playing an offense with two number one receivers. You're also playing against an offense who, I mean, you can't even read Matt Stafford's eyes as a DB. And what's the one problem the Lions have had recently? They've had problems with their secondary. Matt Stafford's throwing no look passing for touchdowns on 60-yard passes. He's got Devontae Adams. He's got Puka Nakua, and they've got a running game. I mean, the Rams are at the top of their game, and they might just win another Super Bowl with now a 40-year-old quarterback with brand new teeth and some nice gray hairs going on. Give me the Rams to keep pace with the Seahawks, and I mean they're a terror to deal with.
Yeah, that division will be fun. Who gets in? And three out of three division teams from that get in with the 49ers hanging around as well. It'll be very interesting. This is why they play the games. It's got 4 weeks to go. You never know what could happen. So I like the Rams. I just think the Rams are too much. If the Lions are too many injuries on defense, especially in their secondary, I don't even think they could win. The Lions will win. I don't think they're potentially missing the playoffs too. This is just a wild. Who would have thought the season shaping up with all the injuries in the NFL? Now the division races is very interesting. Give me the Rams. All right, we kind of set flip flop in the game. We're gonna go Chargers. Quick pick. Chargers. Kansas City. Kansas City's hopes rely on this game. I think the Chargers. I want to say Chargers, but yeah, I'm going Chargers. Kansas City will win. Watch, Kansas City will win this game, I think. But if I had to pick, I think Kansas City somehow is going to mess around and win this game. But I got to go Chargers slightly, Mark.
I'm going Chargers. I think the one thing about Coach Harbaugh, as much as I hate him from being at Michigan, he definitely knows how to understand when to kill a limp deer. And Kansas City's that limp deer right now, and he knows how to kill limp deers. He did it to Ohio State multiple different times, and I think right now he has the chance to kill the limp deer, get over the hump, and Justin Herbert. I know he's had a bunch of stuff going on with his hand, but I think he gets over the hump. He beats Mahomes in a thriller, and finally slays Goliath.
Yeah, and sorry, I'm just reading something I got sent to me. Nothing important, but yeah, I like the Chargers. Chargers win this one, I think, comfortably. So let's go one more big one in Denver. Green Bay, Denver, probably maybe Super Bowl preview of our son. Mark, who do you like?
I love the Denver Broncos, man. PS2 in that defense is literally like going against a brick fucking wall. I like the way that Bo Nix plays football. He plays like a 40-year-old man. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and when he does, that defense is right behind him. They're exactly what I wish the Browns were, and they have some weapons with Cortland Sutton. I believe they have Troy Franklin as well, who I liked coming out of college. I think they have the opportunity to really solidify themselves here. Give me the Broncos.
Yeah, this is tough. I think both defenses are pretty good, but I think the altitude comes into play. I like I like. I'm just reading some ACC. I'm just reading something real quick. ACC Notre Dame Blast ACC says permanent damage has been done to the relationship, and so Crimey River on that. But I like the Broncos in this one. I think altitude comes into play. I think they win it, and they beat Green Bay. Woo! 2-hour show. Lots of crash outs. Lots of everything. Mark, we got through episode number 19. 20 is on the way next week.
20 is definitely on the way. I mean, when it comes to situations like this, when it comes to big games like this, I think some extra time is always warranted. It was a exciting weekend of football, and it's only going to get more exciting. I know college football is dying down until about the first of the year, give or take. But if I were you guys, if you don't tune into the NFL, I would start, because playoff runs are just now starting, and they're just going to start to heat up. And this is where you're going to see some of the best football played in the NFL, where the best become the best, and it only gets more exciting from here, Kyle.
And hey, even though football's dying down, we ain't going nowhere. We're going to have a lot to talk about in the NFL draft, NFL combine. We're going to officially bring in some NBA and hockey. The Olympics are starting in a couple months. We ain't going nowhere. We'll be out here through all the summer, each and every week, get you through summer. Before you know it, Mark, as we always know, it'll be back to football season all of a sudden. So we'll get through summer. It might, as Mark says, might be some painful kind of shows, but we will get through them because before you know it, we'll be in July, be talking training camp predictions and all that. So we're just getting started. So we thank you all for coming. We got, like I said, we got some great things coming up. We have our first road show. It's coming up. Well, first of the year, we're gonna hopefully get clearance on that. When we get clearance, we'll officially announce where we're going in February, the first week in February. As I know, Mark's excited to do it along with me. So it's gonna be like a very first road show. So we'll dive into that once we get the clearance. First of the year, we'll announce that. And we also have some also come up first of the year. We're just gonna probably, I would say, we're gonna do that at least once a month. I think we're gonna do that, Mark. But we'll talk. Maybe we'll do it the first show of the month and then go from there. That'll be like our New Year thing. But we'll decide on that when we get closer. But all right, we gotta run. It's Monday. We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you made it this far, we love you. Be a friend. Tell a friend something nice. Might change their life. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the football coming up. I know it's a little lackluster in college. Remember, turn into Army Navy this week, Mark, because
Hoorah!
there we go. We love that. We love that. I'm Kyle. He is Mark. We'll see you next Monday to wrap up the NFL and get you ready for the first round of the CFP. It's here before we know it. Till then, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye.